Good.
What is up, everybody? What's up, YouTube? What's up, Josh?
How you doing, man?
Doing great. Doing great. Gotta do the podcast. You know, I gotta multitask here. 3, 2, 1. You are listening to Any Given Sunday for Sunday, September 26, 2021. I am your host, Manny Brown, joined as always by my co-host, Josh Rodriguez. Josh, what is good?
Not much, man. It's good to be back. Shout out to Baylor
Welcome
for holding
back.
it down.
Glad to have you back. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shout out to BTG, our boy,
Yep.
Baylor the Great, for holding it down, filling in for the great Josh Rodriguez last week. Shout out to Baylor. Did a good job filling in. Credit to him. Called him on short notice. Said, "Yep, let me know when and what's good, and we'll do it." And we did. So credit to BTG, man. Shout out to him for filling in last week. But I'm glad to have my co-host back. First and foremost, man, how are you doing? How's the family? What is, how's everything at home away from the podcast stuff?
Yeah, death in the family last week. That's why I was gone. It's always tough. It was an aunt that I wouldn't say really close with, but was a large part of my childhood, if that makes any sense to anybody. So it was tough. And yeah, just needed the week. That's all. But everything's okay now. Family's doing all right. Some other bullshit. I actually didn't even tell you this pre-show. I don't even know if I'll say it on there, but maybe after the show, I'll vent to you about it.
Yeah, we get the juicy stuff offline, guys. Come on,
it's actually very capitalistic. Actually, I want to say it. Like my family couldn't raise enough money, to show the body, which is crazy to me.
Wow.
I didn't know that was a thing. The funeral home wanted it was like 7.5 G's for the funeral home, and my family couldn't raise enough money in time, so they did not release the body for us to see, which to me is like beyond unethical.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
Work out a payment plan. Do something. Work with families that are trying to grieve. I mean, I have my cousins here who want to see their mom for their last time. I want to see my aunt for my last time. My uncle wants to see his wife and here you are just like, nope, sorry. You can't afford to. Like, to me, that's just one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. So
hey, it's good old capitalism, man. What can you say?
Just
good old capitalism. Just another day in a capitalist society. What else?
Work something out. Work something out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, listen. The funeral system. I don't know. For lack of a better term, it's disgusting. It's always has been. It's horrible, man. I've been there, done that. Trust me. I've seen it. My family deaths, and yeah, it's the same. It's disgusting. You'd think that, there'd be a little human element. And I get it. These are businesses just like anything else, and they got to make money. I get that. But there's a human element to it, that you have to respect and be sensitive to. And unfortunately, a lot of companies aren't. So it's
isn't
sad,
a cake.
man.
You know what I mean? We're not asking you for a cake. It's
right.
We're saying goodbye to a beloved.
Like, understand the situation. Like, some things
yeah.
should be valued more than money or making a profit, but apparently not really. It's disgusting. I just can't. And it's the people that defend it. That's the people that get me. It's like,
yes.
Oh, well, what do you expect? They make money. Like what? Like,
yeah,
just making money off of grief and death is already an issue. Yeah, listen, we could be here all day talking about that.
Yeah, thankfully, everybody I complained to has not defended that, because
and it's everything when it comes to the funeral system. It's like buying a headstone. Like, my God, have you seen that? Like, seriously,
it's ridiculous.
Like a casket.
Yeah,
like a freaking casket.
Just a simple fact that, like, I'm not kidding, Manny. Like, 2 hours after my aunt passed away, my cousin and my family were shopping for funeral, like, immediately. Like, that's not the first thing you should be doing. That's not the first thing you should be doing at all.
But in a way, I get it though, bro, because it's like it's something that you have to have lined up, and it's like I get that part of it. I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's weird how it shifts from being, oh my God, this moment of great loss and tragedy, to like, yo, we got to make sure all of our affairs are lined up. Like it is like that.
That could wait.
It is like that. Yeah, no, I get it. It's never a perfect way to handle that. Never.
Right.
That's why you hope that these things are, aligned before the person passes, so that there isn't that much stress on the family side of things.
Right.
That's why, like, over the last year and stuff, even since COVID, like, we've been talking to my mom about, like, hey, do you have a will? Do you have stuff in order? And she says, oh, I'll deal with it. But I'm like, no, Mom, you gotta.
Yeah. I actually had the discussion with my father.
Yeah, it's important, because it's like, you got to have this stuff lined up, and because it's a burden on your family.
Yeah, it's
And
such an
then you
awkward
get people in
conversation
there
to
with
have.
agendas and one side of the family that doesn't want
That's
to
how
do
I got
this.
into it. I was like, Dad, I'm not trying to, vulture any of your assets.
Right.
You're my father.
And it's weird how they take that. Like, no, it's
Yeah.
just
No, my dad was really cool about it. So
it's like,
yeah,
we
but
put
I
life
could see, I
insurance on
could
my
see why.
mom. We put life
Yeah.
insurance on my mom. We did all that stuff because it's like
Yeah.
these are important conversations you have to start having at a certain point. Like my
Right.
mom is 60 now. Like, she's close to the 70. Like she's still young, spry, whatever. But it's like, you're not a spring chicken anymore. Like these are the conversations that we have to start having. So
Today,
yeah.
actually, on the East Coast right now, it's the 27th. It's my dad's 69th birthday.
Happy birthday, Pops. Happy birthday to the big
It's
man.
Last year
Senior.
is 60s. He'll be 70 next year.
Man. Still healthy, still kicking, all things considered.
I'll be honest with you, he's not healthy, which scares the shit out of me. We were and it's nothing. We had a long conversation. Like this was kind of a wake up call. So my aunt, she passed away from a heart attack. She had a massive heart attack and died. So and they knew each other. Like my aunt and my dad, that was his brother's wife. But like I said, we all grew up around the same area. When we moved to the suburbs, they moved to the suburbs. And like my closest cousin is her son. Like, so I think it was kind of a kick in the ass. And he scheduled a doctor's appointment. And my dad, when he has to buckle down and take his meds and go to doctor's appointment, he does it. I'm just scared that like that procrastination is going to bite him in the ass.
Yeah, it's going to bite him in the ass one day. Yeah, listen, they're stubborn, man. You listen. I as someone who has a Latino parent as well, they're very stubborn. And they do not listen. So sometimes you just got to keep, hammering it in. But yeah, man, it's important, man. Definitely, check on your loved ones for sure. Make sure that they're doing everything that they have to do, and just take care of yourself, man. Personal accountability and health and all that good stuff. That's always important. Even, like I turned 35 in 2 months and I'm already like, okay, thinking about like, thinking about those things, like, getting
you have kids
prostate
as well.
checked. Yeah. And like, like I've already researched like going to get the prostate checked out, colon checked out, like all these things that like you don't think about because
and I had my first prostate exam this year. That shit was wild.
Really? Oh, okay. We gotta talk offline about that shit because I googled it and I was just like,
oh man.
Yeah, I'm ready for this, but then it's like, no, I have to be. So no, it's important, guys. So if you're listening and you're at that age, man, even 30, like once you hit 30, you got to start thinking about these.
Seriously,
things, for sure.
Your body just completely changed. I cannot do half of the things that I used to be able to do. Like I'm just talking everything, not just athletically. Like I mean, like literally getting out of bed without pulling a hamstring. That happens sometimes. Like I will walk out of bed and my ankle sprained.
Bro,
I don't know how I sprained my ankle during.
You're preaching to the choir, man. You know I was in the army, right? I was in the army. So the army took my physical peak by like 5 years, like literally by 10 years. Like I'm like 34, but I have the body of a 45-year-old man. Like
man,
like I'm just broken down to shit. So definitely. I get it, man. You hit that age, you gotta make sure all the bolts and the screws are tied tight and all that stuff, and just make sure the body's tuned up, man. It's easier said than done, but we got to start making, especially if you got family, especially if you got young kids. I mean, it's not just about you anymore. It's to them. You really have a responsibility to your loved ones. You have a responsibility to your wife, your kids, and all that good stuff to make sure that you are healthy as can be. So yeah. Didn't mean to get too off track there, but no, I'm glad that you and the family are doing all right, man. I know loss is never an easy thing, so I'm glad that you guys are doing okay. So
thank you.
That's the most important thing. Yeah, for sure. I hate to talk about that, just talk about meaningless shit like football, but
let's talk football.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here in the grand scheme of things, right?
Speaking of not doing okay, the New York Jets.
Oh, we're gonna start with the Jets already in our week 3 NFL recap. Like, why not? Let's peel the Band-Aid off, man. Oh my God. Oh Jesus Christ, Josh. Where do I start? I'm
gonna my casual hyperbolic statement that I have almost every year about this team. This might be the worst team I've ever seen in my life. Awful.
Which is saying something because they've been an absolute disaster for the last 5 years.
Man, I knew that offensive line was a problem, but I didn't know it was that bad. This is the first time I actually like watched some of the Jets like game. Like I watched like snippets here and there, and they're never running NFL red zone because they never get to the freaking red zone. Of course not, right? So I can never the only time the Jets are on red zone is like when teams are scoring on them.
Oh God!
So I actually checked them out for a little bit, and yeah, man. I mean, I understand Zach Wilson's numbers aren't that great, but I can't put it all on him. That line is awful. Awful. I don't know how many sacks the Broncos had today, but I'm going to guess it had to be at least 8. That's my guess.
No, I think they had 5 sacks today.
Okay.
Which is
it felt like a lot.
Feels,
well, Justin
yeah,
Fields. Maybe I'm thinking the Bears. The Bears. What's another? We'll talk about that later. But
we'll talk about them. But listen, man, it's what can I say, man? I mean, it really hit me today watching them. I had company over, I had my goddaughter over, and just playing around with the baby, and just kind of just doing some. I'm watching that miserable game, and it just hit me. It's like there's no hope. There's like literally no hope. Like you know how you watch your team and there's like a belief like, maybe this drive they'll kick it. It's like no hope.
Right.
I mean, once the Jets went down 17-0, you knew the game was over. I mean, you just knew it. And that's like there is no hope. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's just nothing, man. I mean, this franchise is an absolute disgrace. And it's everybody. It starts at the owner. Literally some of the worst. Listen, every team can say this, their owner's worse or their owner's bad. No, the Johnson family is completely inept. The brother, Woody, the family, they can't even distribute a fucking vaccine. They can run a football team. Forget that. They're completely inept. I mean, they're completely inept. And I start with them because it starts at the top. It starts with any organization. It starts at the top. GMs come and go, coaches come and go, quarterbacks come and go, players come and go. But what stays the same is the ownership. It's the infrastructure. They're a disaster. They are an absolute disaster. And then you head down to Joe Douglas, a guy who to me has gotten a pass. Everybody has told me how great this guy is. He's a talent evaluator. He knows offensive lines. He's this, he's that. Joe Douglas in 2 years, I think, has won 4 games as a GM. I mean, it's like, what are we watching here? I think last week, I forget the stat last week. I'm so pissed off that I didn't even capture it, but I heard it. It was like, I think out of like the entire 2020 NFL draft class, the Jets draft class, like only 1 player suited up last week of that draft class, or was even on the team. I mean, it's just like, this is what we're watching. And it's like, it never gets better. It never gets better. And it's like, it just came to my realization. I mean, it just didn't come to my realization, but I finally accepted it. It's like we're just in an endless cycle of suckness. Like literally, we'll suck, we'll show some signs, but we'll still suck. And then the person, the GM or coach, whoever, get a second year, and then they suck even worse. And then after the second year, we're ready to fire the coach and the GM. And then maybe the GM will survive, and the coach will be fired. And then the GM will hire another coach, which in turn will then hire will then get inherit the quarterback, or maybe not inherit the quarterback, or maybe want to draft his own guy, and then we'll go through that cycle again. Or maybe both of them are gone, and then you bring in a whole new regime in 3-4 years, and then we're just doing this all over again. And then that doesn't work, and then we're doing this all over again in another 3-4 years. It's just like, it's a vicious cycle of just ineptitude. And that's what the Jets have been for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Other than 2015, when God forbid they won 10 games, but in the biggest game of their season, week 17 in Buffalo against a miserable, horrible Buffalo team, they couldn't win that game. And there went the playoffs. Outside of 2015, this team has been a disaster since 2011.
Yeah.
Poorly ran from the top on down. We've had terrible GMs. I mean, remember John Idzik? Remember that?
Yeah,
oh my God. It's like John Idzik. Like, it's just been constant, man. Constant. And then all this year, all we were sold about, Robert Saleh, all gas, no brakes. And I'm not ripping the coach. Listen, it's
I don't think it's on him. I don't think any of this is on him.
It's not on him, but you know what? I'll start putting stuff on him too, though. Listen, the Denzel Mims situation, the penalties, the dumb penalties, that's on coaching.
Yeah.
That's on coaching. And then the immortal Mike LaFleur, the boy genius, 34-year-old Mike LaFleur, who invented football, apparently. It's like Kyle Shanahan, in the pantheon of inventing football, it's Paul Brown, the Shanahans, and Mike and Matt LaFleur.
Sean McVay.
Yeah, forgot about Sean McVay. He was there in the initial meetings where football was conceptualized. I forgot about him. It's like the immortal Mike LaFleur, and he has been a brutal offensive play caller. Like, I'm not asking for much. I'm a realistic Jet fan. I knew what this season was about. It was about development. This was I forgot who said it. I think Brian Costello said it best. This was the AAA Jets. This was a year where it's like you're getting the young pieces ready for the next year and in the next couple of years. So I didn't expect much. But it's one thing to be bad. It's one thing to be bad, but to be non-competitive. to be non-competitive.
No,
Like, you
seriously.
watch the Jets and they don't even compete. They can't. They can't.
It's embarrassing.
I can't. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Ronald Taylor, boycott the games, return the fan gear, and protest in front of the stadium. Bark at the front office until they make the right moves.
Bro, we've shout out, and that's BTG, by the way. Shout out to BTG. But cool. But it's like, listen, it's like we've done that. We literally had a plane fly over practice, fire.
I forgot about that.
Like, we've had this happen, and it's like the same. Nothing changes because, again, the franchise is run by incompetent, clueless buffoons who never get this stuff right. You know, they let the immortal Peyton Manning, who didn't want to come to the Jets in 1997, by the way, decided to go back to Tennessee instead of going to the Jets. But now we're letting
and then chose the Broncos over the Jets when he left Indianapolis too.
Right, but now we're letting Peyton Manning give us his genius advice on selecting coaches, and we get this buffoon Adam Gase foisted on us for 2 years, ruined Sam Darnold's career in New York,
ruined everything. I'll be honest, he ruined everything.
He ruined everything for the franchise. I mean, honestly, Adam Gase is the worst football coach I've ever seen. Like, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And listen, I root for the Jets, so there's a lot to pick from.
Yeah, you've seen your share of bad coaches.
I've seen a share of bad coaches. And it's like it just what frustrates me is that it never changes, bro. 1968 was a long time ago. I'm tired of, wait till next year. Wait till this top round quarterback comes out and the Jets draft him. Then you'll see. Like, I'm done, bro. I'm done. Again, it's one thing to be bad, but at least if you're competitive, if there's fun games, if we would have lost that game 31-27 today, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I wouldn't have complained. But to lose that game 26-0 and just really be non-competitive, show no signs of life.
Scoring either. Like, not even come close. I think.
And the one time we did come close to scoring, we had an offsides on a field goal kick, knocked us out of field goal range. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You cannot make this stuff up.
Right.
You have a young quarterback who you're trying. You have a young quarterback who you're trying to to nurture and mature, and what do? You take away a 6'3", 200-pound receiver who can run a 4.3 and say, no, he's got to learn the other receiver positions, or he can't even suit up. Denzel Mims is inactive, not benched, inactive. Jeff Smith and the immortal Braxton Berrios are playing over Denzel Mims.
Play, man. Like, it's not even like he's
Denzel Mims can play. Honestly, I think Denzel Mims is better than Corey Davis. That's just me. That's a hot take to some.
Yeah.
I think he's comparable.
Yeah.
Like,
he's definitely the second best receiver on the team. He's the second best receiver on the team, at worst.
And he's literally inactive.
Yeah. I think it's interesting for me because you see Sam Darnold kind of thriving in Carolina. And it's not that Sam Darnold's this world beater. Sam Darnold's not like a top 10 quarterback in this league, but it just shows like what a competent organization can do, for a quarterback like Sam Darnold. And you see how he performed in New York. And then you start to realize that, holy shit, like, as much as you want to blame Sam, and Sam did play terrible, maybe it is just, it's the roster and the organization, because Sam looks like a completely different person. Like 1000%. It's amazing what he looks like after he left the Jets organization. So I look at the way Zach Wilson's playing, and I look, you can have your beefs with Robbie Saleh or whatever, but at the end of the day, the roster's just not good enough. That line is awful. You can't do anything when your offensive line.
And that's on the GM. That's on the GM. Exactly. Mr. Offensive line guru, Joe Douglas.
That's where I was going.
Knew that line needed to be strengthened. Yep. And listen, when we came into free agency, I said, sign Joe Thuney. Oh, well, Joe Thuney wasn't going to come here. He chose to go to the Chiefs. No, I don't buy this that, people don't want to come play for the Jets because they're bad. No, guys will go play anywhere if you pay them enough money. Yeah, everybody knows if you're a bad team, you have to overpay.
Yeah.
So what? Joe Thuney got $70 million in free agency. Throw that motherfucker $90 million. He'll come here. Trust me. He'll be in green and white by the time you offer that contract.
Right.
Like, everybody knows if you're a bad team and you're trying to make waves in free agency, sometimes you have to overpay. A lot of times you have to overpay.
Yeah.
This man knew we needed that offensive line help. He knew it. It was paramount for us to improve this offensive line. And this offensive line, if anything, might be worse than it was last year.
It is worse. 1000%. I mean, listen, I'm going by one game that I've actually got to sit down and watch, but it was probably one of the worst performances I've ever seen an offensive line have ever.
Bro, the penalties, shooting yourself in the foot, drive after drop, the drop ball. Today it was just the drop passes.
Yeah,
which only highlights the Denzel Mims. And listen, I know Jet fans have carried on about the Denzel Mims thing. Listen, we're not trying to make Denzel Mims out to be T.O. We're not. But but it just doesn't make sense to us that you have a young receiver who you took with in the second round. This isn't like Denzel Mims was a 208th overall pick. This guy was like the 50th, 60th pick in the draft. And you just refuse to play him for whatever reason, because he just doesn't fit your scheme, apparently.
And it's interesting because going into the season, I'm like, well, you have Elijah Moore now, Denzel Mims, and Corey Davis. That's a pretty solid receiving core. I'm not saying it's one of the best in the league, but that's a core where you're like, okay, they can make plays, along with Jamison Crowder when he gets back.
The Jamison Crowder situation. Is he healthy? Yeah. Is he not healthy? There's some rumors that they may not even want to play him, so they want to trade him. Oh, okay, because we're in the business of actually trading competent NFL receivers. Like, it's like, are you trying to sabotage your young quarterback? That's what I'm asking. Are you legitimately trying to sabotage this young man? I can't put this on Wilson. Listen, has Zach Wilson been phenomenal? No. Outside of one half in Carolina, he has not been that good, but he's a young quarterback. It's to be expected, but it's not on him. It's not on him. He has nothing to work with. He has no offensive line. He has an offensive coordinator who, I'll be nice, is a work in progress. Like, what does he have to work with? Nothing.
He is literally nothing. Literally nothing.
Like, you look around the league, right? You look at all these bad teams. Detroit, I don't know. Give me a random bad. They're competing. They have pieces. Detroit has Penei Sewell. They have a couple young defensive studs.
Right.
They have TJ Hawkinson. They have pieces. The Jets have nothing. They have maybe Quinnen Williams. Elijah Moore's got potential. Michael Carter's shown signs.
That's my point. Like, I do think Elijah Moore's good. I do think Michael Carter's good. And I think Zach Wilson can be good. But you can't do anything offensively if your line cannot protect the quarterback or can't create space for them. Period. It comes down to that, really. I know it sounds like really reductive, but it's just what it is. If your line can't do anything, your playmakers are not going to be able to do it. It doesn't matter who you have. It doesn't matter what skill players.
Football starts in the trenches, man.
Exactly.
Defensive line, offensive line. That's where it starts, man. If those two areas of your football team are not up to par, you're not going to be a good team. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, you look at it historically when you talk about football. Defensive and offensive line. That's where it starts. And the Jets, listen, their defensive line is solid, but their offensive line is shit. Again, there's nothing there. And again, we've been saying the same thing for the last 4 or 5 years. Nothing there. It's like, what are we building here? And again, this week, this front office is going to get some heat and it's time. It's like, again, it's one thing to be bad, especially in New York. It's one thing to be bad, but when you're unwatchable, when you're boring, when you're non-competitive, that's where everybody raises a flag. It's like, listen, again, if the Jets were giving up 50 points and they were scoring 37, 38 points a game, it's one thing. You could at least say, okay, well, at least they're competitive. They're having shootouts. They're trying. They're going out there and trying new things. But again, you watch that game. Is there any hope for the Jets? Like, honestly, I think the Jets would lose to some college football teams. I think Alabama would beat the Jets. Last year's Alabama team, I'll say this. The LSU team that won a national championship 2 years ago would beat this.
Burrow?
Yes.
Burrow, Chase,
Jefferson, Moss, Randy Moss's kid that was a tight end, the defense. The Jets would lose to that team. Like, look at the Broncos. Are the Broncos this, like, I mean, listen, I know they're 3-0.
They're a borderline playoff team, man.
They're a good team, but they're a solid team. But the Broncos are not. This isn't the 98 Broncos that we're talking about here.
Right.
All right. And they're missing like half their guys on offense as well. And they just, and honestly, the fact that it was 26-0 is a credit to the defense. The defense has been the one good thing about this team. Like, any other defense, that's a 40-0 game. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Listen, I hate it. I hate that it's become so much Jet centric. We'll move on, I promise. But it's just, it literally is just no hope. There's just no hope. And it just hit me today. It's like, there's just no hope with this team. No hope. And then you watch the press conference and it's like, oh, we got to, the same coach speak. Oh, we got to trust the process. And this is why I can't, like, I couldn't be a coach or I couldn't be involved because it's like, I can't,
what would you say? Coach Manny Brown steps into the press conference.
Listen, through 3 games, we're 0-3. I would say it's a results-driven business, and we're not getting results. So we have to change it up. It's like the Mets. The Mets have had an offense that didn't hit for like 99.9% of the year. And there you go, Luis Rojas trying out the same lineup every day, no changes. It's like at some point when you're seeing the same thing over and over, change it up. Drop a guy down in the lineup. Bring a guy up from AAA. He can't be any worse than what you're seeing. It's the same thing in football. It's the same thing in basketball. Change it up sometimes. If a guy's not producing, take him out for a couple games. Same thing on offense. Try a wildcat. I don't know, up tempo, something. Jay Feely is basically coaching the Jets from the booth saying, hey, why don't they try some more up tempo stuff, some RPOs, something. Nothing. It's the same dry vanilla offense the entire game.
Which is
are you trying to win? Are you trying to win?
He comes with this Shanahan tree, and I'm expecting this whole like innovative like zone scheme.
No, of course not. like typical Mets Jets fashions, we always get the sucky part of the duo. Like, in typical Jets fashion, we'll get the bad LaFleur. We won't get the good LaFleur. We'll get the bad LaFleur. I don't think we can
judge Saleh too harshly, man. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think this is on him. I think any coach in the NFL, even Belichick, would have a hard time winning with this roster.
Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to jump down on Robert Saleh's throat. Like, I'm not. I get it. I'm realistic. But again, the dumb penalties, the trying to pigeonhole Denzel Mims into being a player that doesn't, great coaching is about getting the players and getting the best of them, putting them in the best situations that they're able to succeed. Not, this guy doesn't fit my system. Like, who the hell is Mike LaFleur? How many games is he? How many Super Bowls has Mike LaFleur won? Now he's telling this kid Denzel Mims, no, we're not going to. And then what pisses me off and pisses a lot of Jet fans off, right? It's like, it's fun. One thing that I hate when coaches or GMs or whatever do is that when you talk down to fans. Like, fans know the game, especially fans in New York. Like, we know the game. So we're not I'm not saying I'm X's and O's, I'm this, that, and the other. No, but I know the game and I know what I'm watching. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me Denzel Mims had a great week of practice and he practiced with the first team and he's inactive. Like, come on, like, you're insulting my intelligence here. Like, come on, like seriously? Seriously? Like, that's what it really is. Like, come on, man. Like, who are you talking to? Like, this isn't some dumb fan in Timbuktu, Iowa. That you could be like, oh, okay, sure. Coach says he's practicing well. I guess we'll take that. Like, no, this is New York. Like, really? Right. Really? This is what you're telling the media, the fan base? Like, no, come on, man. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Like, what are you telling us here? What are you telling us here? Like, I'm done. I'm done ranting because I can't. I can't. It's just disgusting. Credit to the Broncos. They did what they were supposed to do. They beat a hapless team like they were supposed to do. And it's bad, man. It's bad. And they'll probably go 0-4 because they play the Titans at home next week. And they'll probably be 0-4 for.
They may not win a game, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. They look awful. I don't know what team they can beat right now. They're the worst team in the league.
And that is the issue right there, Josh. That's what you just said. It encapsulated everything amongst all the ranting and raving that I've been doing. That is the key point. Where is the progress? That is what every Jet fan right now is asking themselves: is where is the progress? Are we better than we were last year? Where's the progress at the quarterback position? Not Zach Wilson's fault, but where's the progress? It feels like we're just literally watching the same quarterback play, just with a different quarterback. Instead of Sam Darnold, it's now Zach Wilson. We're watching the same O-line. The defense is, I guess, better. I guess that's progress. Again, where's the progress?
There's none.
Please
they've gone backwards since last year, like absolute backwards.
He comes here with this 2 tight end system. You don't have 2 tight ends to run a 2 tight end system, but nonetheless, we're gonna keep forcing the 2 tight end system, the immortal Taylor Crofts and Ryan Griffins. But then you're telling me Denzel Mims can't play. Like, literally, and I quote, we have to find ways where Denzel Mims can help us win. I literally lost it. I'm just like, really? A guy who's 6'3", 207 can run a 4.3 can't help you win football games?
Braxton Berrios, man, come on.
who had a massive drop in today's game too. Oh God. Let's move on because I can't. I can't with this team. I can't.
Move on to my Giants. We can go on to the Giants.
Yeah, let's start with the Giants, man. Let's go with your Giants. Another scintillating performance by the Giants. Oh man. Oh, the Giants, the G-men. Listen, this might be the worst era of New York football, maybe
Easy,
ever. And
easy.
this is, I mean, listen, we don't go back to the 70s with with the Giants before George Young got there, and the Jets in the late 70s, and Giants were pretty bad. I get that. And there's probably some OG Giant fans out there that'll be like, no, watch the 70s versions of the Giants. I get it. But basically, over the last 25, 30 years, yeah, this has
This
to
is the
be
third
this.
worst team in football. You have the Jets, the Jags, and the Giants. In my mind, those are the three worst teams in football. I'd take
Man.
the Texans over over the Giants at this point with a backup quarterback.
Oh my God.
This is a terrible team. Daniel
Oh
Jones is not
my
that dude. He's not that dude. He's just not. I'm sorry. He's not. This way you have listen, I know this sounds incredibly reductive, but you have a tie game at home with the ball, drive the length. You don't have to drive the whole length of the field, get a field goal, you win the game. Period. Make it happen. You have Kenny Galladay. You have Sterling Shepard was out, but like you have Saquon Barkley. You have weapons. You can like. There's no excuses at that point. I know the line's bad. I get it. I just went off about how the Jets can't do anything because their offensive line is bad, and it's true.
Mhm.
But it's not that bad. Like the Jets O line is like hilariously bad. Where the Giants O line is like you can make shit happen every once in a while. He's just
And the
not that
Giants
dude.
have pieces, which is the
The Giants have
sake.
weapons.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
1000%. You have one of the best running backs in the league. And I know he
Who's
doesn't
still
have the
working
stats.
his way back in.
He
Yeah,
doesn't have
he's
the stats to
working his
prove it
way
because the
back.
line's awful. I understand that, but you have one of the I wouldn't say top receivers, but you have an upper echelon receiver in Kenny Galladay. 1000% you do. There's
Eh,
there there's no reason for the Giants to be putting up 14 points against the Atlanta Falcons at home. None
yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, the Giants aren't as bad as the Jets, which is
The
it's
Giants are
not
frustrating
a
because they
great
are literally
shake.
they're a few plays away from being 2-1. I think that's the
Yeah.
frustrating. If you're a Giants fan, you can make you don't go
Is that on
offside with a
coaching?
field goal.
Is that on Daniel Jones? What is that on exactly?
It's a mixture of a lot of things. I mean, like I said, Joe Judge is supposed to be this master of discipline, yet, on a game-winning field goal attempt, you guys go off sides. Like that's coaching, right?
Mhm.
We just said that, discipline's
Mhm.
a lack of coaching. I don't think there's any
Yeah.
imagination on offense. That can be Joe Judge, but that's going to be Jason Garrett. You have to blame the offensive coordinator on that as well. And also, I don't think Daniel Jones is that dude. I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league. I think he has a career in this league as a backup. I think if your quarterback goes down and Daniel Jones is your backup, you're not going to be panicking. You'll be like, okay, we'll rock with it. But I don't think Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the future for this team. He's just not.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy. Listen, his numbers didn't look bad. 24 of 35, 266. He didn't throw for any touchdowns. He ran for another 39 yards. He is what he is. At
And
best.
he's not turning the ball over right now, which I got to give him credit for because that was the big thing about him, right?
But
Like
what he
this,
does is he doesn't wow you. And I know that's kind of whatever to say, like, oh, what do you mean he doesn't wow you? But as a if you're a great quarterback, there's like a couple throws, a couple plays within a game that you just say, wow, only 10 other guys in the world can make that
but
play.
not just
And
that.
Daniel
But like,
Jones is just not
there's a
that
couple
guy.
plays in the game where like you make yourself where it's like that's a starting quarterback. That's someone who can win games for you.
Mhm.
Like period. Doesn't have to be like maybe
Right.
some of the shit that Aaron Rodgers did tonight.
And that's not what I mean. I mean
Yeah.
that there's certain games that you just feel it. It's in there. Like, damn, that's you know what I mean? Like, and you just don't see that from Daniel Jones. It's like, oh, he's solid. Like, if everything, like, could he be a solid quarterback on, like, if you put him on like literally the most stacked NFL team? Probably. But is he the guy? Is he a franchise quarterback? Is he a guy that you give
And he
30,
didn't play
40
bad
million
today.
dollars to? No, you don't.
Yeah. And he didn't play bad today. Like that's the thing. Like I'm saying all this about a man who didn't even play bad today. He wasn't
Yeah,
bad.
it wasn't on him today. It wasn't on
Yeah,
him
he
today.
wasn't bad at all. He didn't turn the ball over. Like he trucked a guy on a 2-point conversion, which was dope to see. That was actually pretty dope. But at the same time, it's like, come on, you can't only put up 14 points against the Atlanta Falcons at home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like you got to find a way to make
Yeah.
something happen. You do.
Yeah.
Like the top tier, even Eli in his prime, for as like turnover prone as he was, like he would find ways to make things happen in his prime.
Well, if
Which
you
is
look
why,
at the stats, I mean, if
yeah,
you look at the stats, the Giants should have absolutely won this game. I
yeah.
mean, if time of possession, I mean, total yards, 346 to 296, Giants. Passing yards 246 to 227. Rushing yards 100 to 69. Average yards per play, the Giants won that. They both had a fumble loss.
Yeah.
Nobody threw an interception. They only allowed 2 sacks. Third down efficiency was the Giants 50% to the Falcons 38%. Time of possession was 31:51 to 28:09 for the Giants. Here's the big one: penalties 8-4. That's coaching.
Joe Judge discipline. That's Judge
coaching.
Discipline, baby.
That's coaching.
They're gonna be doing wind sprints tomorrow. That's gonna fix the problem.
Yeah, because that'll fix the problem. Yeah, listen. I'm with you. It feels good to see how somebody else rant about their team. Same thing with the Giants.
Old though. I feel like it's the same rant over and over again. It's like we know this already about the Giants, Right. And the frustrating thing too, and that's the thing. Like, I don't feel like they did anything to particularly lose this game. It's just they didn't do anything to win it. Like,
right?
You get what I'm saying? It's like,
no, I get it. I get it. It's just lack of imagination on offense.
It's the fucking Falcons, bro. Like,
it's the Falcons. This is a game that, especially at home, you have to win this game.
Yeah,
there's no question about it. The Falcons, I wasn't even particularly that impressed with the Falcons.
This is
I don't think the Falcons are that good.
You're going against. Like, this
Matt Ryan looks washed.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like, what
that's
are we
a game you got to win
about here?
And then you have a lead late. That's a game you got to win. I'm sorry. That's a lead you have. That's a game you have to win, and they didn't. And it just feels like it's a broken record. Listen, I don't want to be mean, but I'd rather be in your position right now. At least with the Giants, there's still some hope that, like, okay, maybe they'll figure it out. They play in an easy division. They do have weapons. Right. They do have pieces. There is talent there. There is something
7 and 10
to work with.
Division.
Yes, but again, going back to the Jets, it's like there's just no hope. There's just nothing.
No,
there's nothing to hang your hat on. Nothing.
There's absolutely nothing. The Giants are infinitely better than the Jets right now. Like I said, the Giants could be 2-1. A couple breaks here and there, they could be 2-1 for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So you're just like, so you're basically just over Daniel Jones or over Joe Judge. I guess how do you fix it? How do you? What's the fix?
Well, they got to fix the line first of all. You got to fix the line, and you got to get a new quarterback. And like I said, I like Daniel Jones. I don't dislike the guy, and I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's terrible, but I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league. But that line also, like, no matter what quarterback you get, they're not going to succeed with that line. They're not as bad as the Jets line, and I know I sound hypocritical saying, "Well, you got to let go of Daniel Jones," while saying that, like, no one can see it under the line. But I think by now we would know if he was the type of quarterback that could, be a competent starting quarterback. And I just think he is.
And if you look at their schedule,
And I'm not a fan of Judge. I'm the only Giant fan in the world who's not a fan of Joe Judge. I haven't been.
There's actually quite a few Giant fans that I've seen.
I was the first one.
Jarvis never been a Judge fan.
Oh, Jarvis hasn't been. I thought Jarvis was a Jets fan.
No, Jarvis is a Giants fan.
Oh, I thought he was a Jets fan.
He picked the wrong team in New York. I'm sorry. It's his bad. But anyway, he's a Giants fan, diehard, and he's not he hates Daniel Jones. I think he hates Daniel Jones more than he hates Joe Judge and Gettleman. He's more of a I hate Daniel Jones and Gettleman more than I think Joe Judge. But I think he's not a fan of Joe Judge either. I don't know.
Gettleman, Judge, and I don't dislike Jones. I just don't think he's the guy for the team, for the franchise.
Yeah. And their schedule's not easy. Like, they got the Saints next week, and then they've got the Cowboys. I mean, maybe you say the Cowboys is a winnable game, but you could conceivably see this team go 0-5 to start the year.
Easy.
If
while they're at it, they'll probably find ways to lose those games. One of those two games. They'll have
if this season blows up on you guys, what changes do you see? And then they got the Rams after the Cowboys, so they could go 0-6.
Yeah. I think Gettleman's gone. I think Gettleman's going to be the first.
You think he's gone?
Yeah. I do. I don't think Judge goes though. I know it sounds weird because sometimes GMs come in and they want to kind of like, have their own imprint. But I think whoever, I think Judge is loved by that organization. So I think no matter what GM they bring in, they're going to keep Judge, get a new quarterback, and say, all right, well, didn't work with Daniel Jones. Show us you got this new guy. Give him a year or two, and they'll try to they'll give him a chance to prove himself. But Gettleman's for sure gone, 1,000%.
Yeah, he still hasn't fixed the offensive line, and that's kind of what he was known for, right? You know, this talent evaluator who good at finding O-lines and all that stuff, and he just has not done that. So, yeah. Listen, I don't even have much of a reaction because I'm still seething about the Jets. I mean, it's like this shit sounds like first world problems,
It really does,
while
actually.
while while we're in Haiti dealing with our own issues.
Let's not even.
We'll,
We're
we'll
gonna
get
get
we'll
to
get
that
to
later.
Haiti. I don't want to get into that. Yeah, man. We'll listen. Enough talking about our own personal foibles with our teams. Let's move on to some rapid fire NFL Week 3 recapping that we do normally do here. You want to start with the Thursday night game?
Let's do it, man.
All right, let's start with the Thursday night game. Panthers and the Texans. Sam Darnold had a pretty good game so far. So far, good season. I know McCaffrey is hurt again, which is becoming a running theme with him, but
Yeah.
he's injured again, unfortunately. But yeah, shout out to the Panthers. They're taking care of business. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and they look decent. They actually show progress. Amazing, right? Concept. Sam Darnold is playing well, doing what he has to do. One thing that stands out to you about that game, or just the Panthers so far in their
No,
early start to the season?
I think a sign of a good team is a team that goes on the road and does what they're supposed to do. I mean, they didn't necessarily dominate that game, and the end score shows that they won it convincingly. But you go on the road, a Thursday night football game, it's easy to fall into that trap and lose. And they didn't. They played well. Sam played well. Didn't turn the ball over, and I don't think the Panthers are a great team, but they're well coached. I think their game plans are great. I think the way they handle Sam is fantastic. I think they have weapons on offense. They're a potential playoff team, and they did what they had to do. Like, nothing spectacular about that game. They're better than the Texans, and everything that happened should have happened.
One thing that stands out to me is I think Davis Mills is decent. I
He's all
like
right.
that kid coming. I liked him in college. I liked him coming out. I liked him coming out of high school. I liked him in college. He was hurt a lot and never really got a chance to really show what he was really capable of doing. But I think the Texans, if they play their cards right, they could have a potential long-term answer at quarterback. Obviously, barring the whole Deshaun Watson situation,
Right.
what plays out with that.
Well,
But
he has to work out because he came in for Tyrod Taylor. So
right? I mean, Jesus Christ. Poor Tyrod Taylor, man. Oh my God. Has there been a more snake bitten guy in football history than Tyrod Taylor, man? Jesus Christ. The kid was actually playing well.
Yeah.
And it's always like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop with Tyrod. Like it's inevitable, right?
Yep.
It's inevitable. But yeah, listen, the Panthers, I hate to say unremarkable, but Sam Darnold play okay. I mean, listen, I think too much is being made of Sam Darnold's performances. I mean, he's been good. He's been solid. I don't think
he's been solid.
Yeah, I don't think Sam, but you listen to some media people who have agendas, basically let's start fitting Sam Darnold with a yellow jacket now, right?
Tyrod Taylor's good luck truck.
Right. Yeah. The McCaffrey injury hurts a little bit because, he's probably their best offensive player, but Chuba Hubbard's a nice replacement. I think he'll fill in well. And listen, give credit to the Panthers, man. 3-0 to start the year. The defense is much improved. Their offense is much improved. And I think they're where they need to be right now. So credit to them.
Agreed.
And Houston, it's like we talked about, it's going to be a long year for them. So yeah, not much to say there. I will say, and I think I talked about this with Baylor last week, but they've been a lot more competitive than I actually thought they would be to start the year.
They play hard.
That's the credit to Cauley, the coach, and they've played hard. They were in a lot of these games. You can make the case that they probably should be 2-1.
Right.
So yeah, it is what it is with the Panthers and the Texans. All right, let's go on to some of Sunday's games. Titans and the Colts. Titans win 25-16. The Colts fall to 0-3, while the Titans are 2-1. Anything that stands out to you about that game? Or one thing that stands out to you about the game?
Is that I legitimately convinced myself before the season started that Carson Wentz would be a huge difference maker for that Colts offense, and he's just not. I thought that Colts offense would be a little more potent, but there's nothing exciting about them. They seem to have a really difficult time moving the football and putting the ball, especially in the red zone. When they get to the red zone, they complete collapse.
Which is amazing because they have Pittman,
Jonathan
Taylor,
and a good offensive line. Well, that's not playing that well, but you think would be a good.
And they've had some injuries. They've had some injuries on the O-line as well.
Quentin Nelson got hurt today too. So, I mean, to me, that's what stands out to me is I had the Colts winning the division. I don't even remember that. I thought they were going to be I thought that defense was going to be solid, and I thought Wentz would make enough plays weekly for them to win that division. But they just don't look like a good football team right now.
I agree with you. I think the Titans have been one of the biggest disappointments, or the Colts have been one of the biggest disappointments to start the year. I easily could have seen them go through 3-0 instead of 0-3 right now, and I don't know what it is. I think it's easy to blame Wentz. The O-line has not played well. The defense, the biggest thing for me is the defense. The defense has not played well to start the year. And that team, we all talked about it, right? That was a ready-made team. That was a ready-made team that Carson Wentz was stepping into. The defense, the offense, the O-line specifically. And the defense has not played well, and the O-line has not played well. And that's kind of the two pillars of this team, and they just have not played well. And listen, Carson Wentz hasn't been terrible, but like you said, he hasn't been phenomenal. And it's just amazing to watch that guy play quarterback and think, this was, we're not that far away removed from 4 years ago. This guy was lighting the football world on fire and could have easily probably won an MVP had he stayed healthy. And to see where he's at now, it's amazing. It's amazing. I feel bad for the kid. I really do.
I do too.
Because I don't think it's all been his fault, but
no, he's hurt. He's on 2 bad ankles too. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, but yeah. I wonder if the Colts are already having buyer's remorse with Carson Wentz.
I think they are. I would be. If I'm a Colt fan, I'm kind of like having it a little bit. Philip Rivers took this team to the playoffs last year. It's not like this team was bad. This was a playoff team last year. And they've regressed. The offense has regressed from a 49-year-old quarterback, whatever Philip Rivers is.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Absolutely. So there's I wouldn't say major concerns, because I still think they can turn it around. They have too much talent on that roster to not turn it around. But yeah, 0-3 is not ideal. Not many teams that come back to recover after going 0-3 to start any season, whether 16, 17, 14 games, whatever. Going 0-3, you never want to go 0-3. And the Titans, what can you say? I haven't been that particularly impressed with the Titans. I was impressed with their victory last week over Seattle.
I was going to say, in Seattle, that was impressive, man.
That was an impressive victory.
The way they came back. Especially
that was impressive.
That was really impressive.
Yeah, but it still feels like it's a work in progress with that offense. It feels like that offense should be more explosive than it is.
Especially when you have AJ Brown and Julio Jones on the field and Derrick Henry in the backfield. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be putting up touchdowns like the Chiefs put up touchdowns.
Right.
But AJ Brown goes out tonight, which I think is going to be, which is weird because sometimes there's an addition by subtraction. It has nothing to do with AJ Brown, but sometimes like now you can be more focused and have a more concise game plan. It's kind of when Odell left the Browns last year, right? Now all of a sudden, like, the offense opens up because you don't have to pay attention to Odell as a quarterback. So
right.
I'd be interested to see how the Titans offense adapts to AJ being out. I don't know how long he's gonna be out for, but this team is checked. To me, it's the defense. I mean, I think the offense is gonna be fine. To me, I'm more worried about the defense going forward.
Their defense is not good at all.
Yeah.
Which is a testament to the Colts, which is a detriment to the Colts, because how did you only score 16 points against this defense? It's astonishing. But yeah, I'm with you on the Titans. Sometimes I think you just can. I really believe this in sports. Sometimes you could just have a case of just having too much talent, and I think that's kind of the issue with the Titans, where it's like they have too many mouths to feed. So you
with
kind of
one ball,
you find yourself in that crazy game of trying to feed everybody.
But and it's no coincidence. Like they won that game. I know I'm going back to last week, but they came back from Seattle riding Derrick Henry. Look, you got the ball to your running back, one of the best running backs in the league, and like you just made shit happen instead of trying to get cute and feeding everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too. I think they're going through a little bit of an identity crisis right now, and I think they kind of get back to the roots of being a run first team and letting Julio. I mean, it's crazy to say this, that you basically use Julio Jones and AJ Browns as decoys, but that's kind of what they are best at.
Yeah. They're right now, to me, the way that division's playing, it's absolutely awful. So this is just practice. They're going to win that division if the Colts keep playing the way that they're playing. They beat the Colts today. They have one up on them already. The Colts haven't won a freaking game. You have the Texans in your division. The Jaguars are a disaster. So like, just use 17 games to build your identity and see what the hell works best. I mean, it's if you're a Titans fan, that's how I'm looking at it. Where it's just like, all right, we're 2-1. We haven't played to our capabilities, but we're going to have 17 games to get ready for the playoffs because this division's awful.
Yeah. Moving on, Chargers, Chiefs. Chargers win 30-24 over the Chiefs, and the Chargers. I think we have a rivalry now brewing in this division, man. Are the Chiefs mortal now? 30-24. The Chargers go up to go to 2-1, and the Chiefs are 1-2 for like the first time in a long time, which is weird, right? I think the Chiefs are in last place in the division. I mean, it's 2-3 games, but it is very weird. And then Andy Reid, of course, taken to the hospital. All prayers to Andy Reid, and hopefully nothing serious, of course. But yeah, I did not watch a lot of this game, but I know the running theme of this game was Brandon Staley's phenomenal coaching there in the fourth quarter. I'm
Bro,
sure you can
I don't
elaborate.
know what I was screaming at the TV. Like,
What did he
what are
do?
you doing? And I'm someone who has Mike Williams on his fantasy team and benefited from these play calls. And I was still like, just like, what are you doing? Run the what are, like everything he did, like from the moment they got to the 1 yard line with like a little over 2 minutes left on was just dumbfounding to me. Like everything was just absolutely dumbfounding to me. And they still won because the Chiefs went 3-and-out when they got the ball back. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the first time I think I've ever watched the Chiefs and been like outside of the Super Bowl against the Bucks, where I was like, okay, they're gonna come down and at least score here or do something, and immediately 3-and-out, which was shocking to me. But even then, I don't understand the play calling. I thought it was weird. They were praising him on the broadcast. I don't know if you heard, but they were praising him
No.
afterwards. And I was just
No,
like, what do
listen.
you
You
like?
know what I think about these coaches, man. I think sometimes these coaches overthink it and they try to get too cute for their own good. And
Bro, it's
sometimes you kind
all
of
of them
need an
now, though. It's
adult.
it's insane.
Well,
And
I think
listen,
it's the analytics, bro. I think it's the computers. I think it's the data sheets. I think the Excel spreadsheets that are like, oh no, run this play or
it,
do this and this play.
bro,
Like
it's too much, man. It's
it's
just
too
little
much.
shit. It's little shit.
Yeah.
Like they get the ball to the 1 yard line, right? And this is me speaking as a frustrated Austin Eckler owner as well in fantasy football. They take
Same.
out like, why do you take out Austin Eckler? Like that's like I was
Makes
explaining to
no
my friend.
sense.
That's like having like Tony Parker, Manny Ginobili, and Tim Duncan on your team. You the most important possession of the game, and you take out Manu Ginobili to put in Matt Bonner, and then you run a play for Matt Bonner. Like
Which it's just mind-boggling.
it does not make sense.
Yeah.
And teams do this. All these teams just keep doing this. Like
Because they're slaves to the analytics now. I mean,
it's
football has
unreal.
become very analytically
Give
driven
the
now,
ball to
which
your
I mean,
best
all sports, man. And it's like football is a one sport that should not be analytically driven, and
at all.
it makes no sense. And what analytics is doing is exposing and highlighting some of these bad coaches. I like that's on coaching. That's on coaching. I mean, I didn't
But he
even
gets
watch
away with
it.
it. Staley gets away with it because they won, so he looks good.
Right.
Apparently,
Right.
I
But
I'm
it's like MLB managers, you know, you'll win enough of these games, but when you get to the big game and you get to an AFC divisional game and you pull this stunt and you lose, that's the type of shit that could get you fired.
that's what I'm
And
saying. Like, and if I'm a
yeah,
Charger fan right now, even though they won today and you beat the Chiefs, so you're on cloud nine. Like in the back of my head, I'm like, our coach is
that's
freaking.
worrisome. Yeah, that's worrisome.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
loose cannon. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the AFC Championship game. You know, we're trying to run the clock out. 3 minutes left to go. The other team doesn't have any timeouts, and we're throwing fucking bombs to Mike Williams. You know what I mean? Like, come
Yeah.
on. Like, this
No,
is
I'm 100% with you, bro. And
yeah.
and again, that's where you should actually think about it. It's like baseball, man. These managers, they get away with these moves, and it's easy to take a guy out too early or take a starting pitcher out too early in a game in
Baseball's ridiculous,
August.
man. Because
In a
we
game in
can do what they do in
August,
baseball. What they do in baseball, we can do.
listen, we don't have time for that right now. We'll be here all day talking about that. So yeah,
Go
we're
to
not
a
even
binder.
going down
Oh, it says do this. We'll do that. That's what they're doing.
and football's getting a lot like that. And it's just these nonsensical moves. It's just like, what are you doing? Like what? Yeah. Are you worried about the Chiefs at all?
No. They'll be fine. They'll figure it out. I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm with you too. What I will say is I'm worried that they're not going to have a cakewalk like they've had in years past. Where I think that there are going to be games. You know, I think that the Chiefs had a Golden State Warriors approach, kind of like we'll turn the light on when we. I think they almost kind of got bored in the regular season, and I think this is the first regular season where the Chiefs are going to actually be in a race. Where I think they're going to have to like, oh shit, if we don't strap in, you know, we could end up being a wild card and not hosting, you know, at Arrowhead, as opposed to, you know, being this dominant team. So I think that the Chiefs are going to have to strap in and play competitive football from the onset. And you could make the case that the Chiefs are very lucky because they should have lost to the Browns. So
they should have beat the Ravens though. That fumble killed them. They should have won that game.
Yeah.
But you can make I get where you're going with that though. They could be 0-3.
They could very easily be 0-3. So yeah, the Chiefs have not gotten off to a great start. You know, I don't want to say it's a Super Bowl hangover, but You've seen it
No,
time and time again. Teams that lose the Super Bowl, Bill Parcells said it best. When you lose the Super Bowl and you have to come back and do it over again for 17 games, that's actually worse than
it's
winning a Super
exhausting.
Bowl.
It's
And yeah,
exhausting.
yeah. So
It's exhausting. But I
I,
think
I
you hit it
keep
right
I
on the
keep an
head
eye
with
on it.
you hit it right on the head with the Warrior syndrome. I think that's what it is more than a Super Bowl hangover. Dower Brown says Justin Herbert is generational. That is a huge
Listen,
tag to put on someone.
I was so wrong about that kid. I
Yeah.
watched him at Oregon. I was unimpressed. I didn't love him. I was like, really? This is the guy? I didn't like Justin Herbert at all. I didn't like Tua at all. I was right about Tua. Herbert, I just didn't see it. And boy, I've been wrong.
I'll
Every
tell you
week
this.
he
Yeah.
impresses me even more.
I'll tell you this. This is my inside sources. At my job, I spoke to a few football players and analysts. I'm not gonna say who, but same as you, man. Just where like teams are staying away from him. No one wants him. I wouldn't want him either. Doesn't seem like a leader. But like anything you can list about him,
Yeah.
like the word on Herbert before the draft was this: he's a flop. Like he's not going to be anything in the NFL, and he's obviously just blowing all his career out the water. So,
Yeah,
good for him.
Credit to the Chargers and whatever they saw, because again,
Or
I'm not
maybe
a
he just
quarterback
fell into their
guru or anything.
laps because Tua went before him.
Which is, man, that might turn out to be, that might turn out to be a miss by the Dolphins, which
Yep.
I'm applauding every step of the way.
Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning missed. No, well, Peyton Manning went first. Never mind.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of a scenario where a team swung and missed on a quarterback, and the very next pick was another quarterback. That was ridiculous, but I can't think of one right now.
Just look back at a Jets draft, you'll see.
Oh my God, yeah, you're right. It's okay.
The Jets could have drafted Deshaun Watson, but we chose.
Well, I mean, you don't chose that.
Well, yeah, now, but at the time, you didn't think,
Right.
Let's not even talk about
that. All right, we're good.
Bengals and the Steelers. Bengals win this game 24-10 for winning Pittsburgh for, I think, the first time in forever. Forever. Yeah, 24-10. Steelers fall to 1-2, while the Bengals go to 2-1. Burrow, Chase, that combination again shows out, and man, are there problems in Pittsburgh. One thing that stood out to me was Ben looks washed. Not looks. Ben is washed.
Ben's washed. The offense is washed.
Ben's washed. Ben's washed. The offensive line has issues. I if it wasn't because it's the Steelers and they have that pedigree and Tomlin and all that, I'd turn the concern meter up even more. But yeah, it's bad in Pittsburgh. I mean, today was the first time I really, because I've always liked Ben as a quarterback, but even I had to kind of sit there and analyze it today. He just did not look good. I mean, normal throws that he would make in his sleep, he's just not making. The bad interceptions, the lack of mobility, although that's been an issue now for the last few years. It's a problem. I think the Steelers have some serious issues. The defense is good enough to carry them through this, but they pretty much have to treat Ben like Peyton was in his last year in Denver, where it's like, look, just be a game manager. We're going to run the football, ball control, defense. That's how we're going to win games. They need to make the change now, because when you have Cincinnati, who's not exactly a great team, they have talent, but they're going up there and beating you soundly. That's a cause of concern if I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yeah, to me, the story of the game is the offense and the lack thereof with Pittsburgh. It wasn't just like they just can't run the football either. Like Ben can't turn around and hand the ball to Najee Harris, who's, in my mind, going to be a fantastic running back in this league, and he's not doing anything either because that line can't open holes for him. So to me, it's more than Ben. I think it's just the whole offense in general. Deontay Johnson was out, so that hurts a little bit. But he still has playmakers, like Juju's still there. Like you still have weapons. Like it's not like you can't make something happen. So the Steelers, they're not looking good. They don't look like a good football team right now at all. That defense doesn't look as good. I mean, TJ's out as well. So
Watt's out.
Yeah.
Their defense is still good enough. Again, it's just they have to stay healthy. That team has to rely on its defense. And right now, when you've got a banged up defensive players, I think Watt's out. I forget who else is out for that defense, but yeah, they've got some issues. It's still Pittsburgh. I don't want to write them off completely, but yeah, they have some issues for sure. That bear watching. Speaking of Bear, see what I did there? The Bears,
Nice.
the Bears fall to the Browns 26-6. The Bears fall to 1-2, while the Browns go to 2-1. And anything that stands out to you about this game?
Justin Fields' numbers stand out to me, and I don't really want to blame him too much because I know he was under pressure the whole game. I think Myles Garrett had like 27 sacks, and it was just every time I watched the game or saw a highlight of the game, Justin Fields was on his ass, like just on his ass. They didn't move the football at all. And then the defense didn't play bad. It's just that when you're on the field for that long, and the Browns are a team that are going to just ground and pound you, and Baker will pick you apart after that. I mean, the eventual outcome is exactly what we saw. So I don't know. Matt Nagy has to get creative somehow with using Justin Fields. I'm really disappointed in the performance. I didn't see it all, so I'm not going to sit here and dissect why it happened, but I can tell that he was under pressure, and I'm not really sure if it's because he was holding the ball too long, but the sacks that I saw, he was just running for his life.
Yeah. I was in and out of this game. I saw a lot of it early on, and then I kind of checked out after a while. Yeah, it was bad. The one thing that stands out to me, but beyond that, the one thing that stands out to me is Matt Nagy's not the guy. I mean, that's obvious.
Oh yeah,
we've been there, done that. But it's just. But you watch a game like today, and it's just even more glaring. And honestly, like, I think in the first half, it was a competitive game. I wasn't that impressed with Baker Mayfield. I thought he made some poor throws, and I thought this was a winnable game early on. And then, the Browns took care of business and did what they were supposed to do. But listen, the Bears, when you have a guy, again, a boy genius, an offensive guru, all these things that you hear from Matt Nagy, and then again, you just watch and it's just like no imagination, no creativity. The Bears have offensive players. It's not like they don't. I mean, I like Cole Kmet, the tight end. They have Allen Robinson. They have the other little wide receiver there.
Moody's good, man.
Moody. Yeah, Moody. That's what I was saying. Moody's really good. Like, they have players, so they should be better offensively. And it's just, again, lack of imagination, lack of creativity. And then, of course, you add that in with a terrible offensive line, maybe not as bad as the Jets or the Giants or some other teams that we've talked about. But again, an offensive line that is not earning his money right now. These issues are gonna pop up, and I don't know how much of that is Justin Fields. I mean, sure, I don't think he played that great. I'll listen. If Zach Wilson can be called a bust after last week's performance, then I think we can rip Justin Fields for not playing up to par. But it's not his fault. I mean, if you're looking at this unbiasedly, it's not his fault. I mean, he just clearly is not much to work with, and I think it's his lack of development is more on the coaching side of things than it is on skill players around him and stuff like that. Because I think Matt Nagy should be devising creative schemes to use this kid.
Right.
I mean, you've had him on the roster for the last 6 months. You should be able to figure out some kind of package to get this guy out and running and get him, get creative on offense. And they just haven't done that. And today it was just the antithesis of that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a long year in Chicago, man. It just, the defense played well. But again, we say that every week about this. We say that every week.
I didn't see the whole game, but when you're 6 for 20, that you have to put some blame and onus on Fields as well. 6 for 20 is awful, man. Like,
yeah, he was bad.
You complete half of your passes by accident in this league now, especially with the dink and dunks that you do. I know I don't like Nagy at all. I know you said a lack of creativity, imagination. I actually think it's the opposite, where it's too much, where it's like he tries to be too freaking cute, and it's like, just run the ball at Montgomery. You know what I mean? Do some simple shit every once in a while. You don't have to like do all these gimmicks and shit. So yeah, I mean, I like I said, I didn't sit down and watch the game, but I see the stat line 6 for 20, and I'm making the assumption that, hey, maybe there were some things here and there that Justin just missed.
Oh yeah, no, listen, I'm not trying to take the onus off of him. I think he definitely did not play well. I mean, the stats are what the stats are, right? But I just think these organizations are failing a lot of these rookie QBs right now, man. I think it's more on them than it is on the quarterbacks, man. And also, I think, and it's an overall theme, but for 50, 60 years, right, there was a system where rookie quarterbacks sat and took it in for a little bit, whether that be 3 games, 6 games, a year. We might want to look into going back to that, because again, a lot
of them are struggling.
All of these guys are struggling, right? And for
Trevor Lawrence is like the best prospect since Andrew Luck, apparently. Look what he's doing.
Yeah. Right? Exactly. So
Good point.
maybe it's a situation where these kids are just not ready. And then of course, how much of it with COVID
Right.
and preparation and
Right.
really getting in there, not having a preseason. I wonder if also the lack of a preseason or much of a substantial preseason, I think it's hurting some of these young quarterbacks. I
Yeah.
wonder. I'm not an expert, obviously, so I'll
It's
leave
okay.
that up to the coaches and geniuses out there. But I think there's something to that, right? Because again, all these quarterbacks and they're all struggling to varying degrees. I think it speaks to something larger going on,
Yeah. All of them
and
except
also
Mac
the
Jones up until
organizations,
today.
and even Mac Jones. Like
Today he
I
didn't have a
watched
good
him. I
game.
watched him in New England last week. I wasn't that
Yeah.
impressed. He can't throw the ball more than 5 yards. Like he's not
Well,
that
I mean, but
impressive.
that's Belichick's offense. Belichick's offense. I mean, we can transfer that game if you want.
But
Like we
no,
got.
but he can't throw the ball. Like I don't think he's capable of it. He's not. Listen. I have my issues with Mac Jones. I'm just not impressed with him. I'm really
Well, we got a bad
not.
game today for sure.
Well, yeah. Saints 28, Patriots 23. Patriots go to 1-2 ahead of their
And the game wasn't
big.
even that close, to be honest with you.
No, this was a domination by the Saints.
Yeah.
On every level. Their offense did what they were supposed to do. Wasn't impressive, but Jameis played okay. Jameis has definitely come down to earth since the 5 touchdown performance. But listen, he didn't make any glaring mistakes and, kept the game kept the game manageable and,
Right.
28-13, come away with a tough road victory. And the Saints are 2-1. Anything that stands out to you in this game? I know what stands out for me, Mac Jones. I'm just not that impressed.
Yeah, I'm not that impressed with Mac Jones. I think Belichick is going to keep that under wraps, where everything's a 5 yard out and dinking dunks, similar to what he's been doing with Brady since Brady turned 40. But also the Saints, like I think people saw the Saints, get their asses handed to them and automatically assumed that oh, they're not as good as we thought they were. No, the Saints are good. The Saints are a good football team. They're gonna be fine.
Yeah, they still have a lot of the infrastructural
Yeah.
pieces there. I mean, with
Yeah,
Kamara,
that was one overreaction that I saw last week that kind of bothered me. Jameis didn't look good. I know that in week 2, and I think a lot of people just kind of wrote them off like, "Oh, this team is not what we thought they were." They'll be they're not going to be great, but they're going to be in every game, and they're going to win some games. And on top of that, they've been on the road for the first 3 weeks of the season. People forget
Yeah.
their first home game was in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So they started off the season on an unusual situation, and they went 2-1 in that situation, which to me is really impressive. Now they get to go
Right.
home to the Superdome, and you know how the Saints play in the Superdome. I assume it's going to carry over, although Drew Brees is not the quarterback anymore. So that's a massive home field advantage, and I think going 2-1 in that span, I think not enough people are talking about the Saints and them doing so just because it looks so bad in week 2.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. I think the Saints are still right there in that, they may not be what the Bucks are, and we'll get to them, but
Right,
I still think the Saints are still a really good football
wild card
team. They're
team.
well coached.
They're not,
They're well
yeah,
coached. To me, the key with the Saints is Jameis.
right.
Is Jameis. I still think Taysom Hill by the end of the year is going to be the quarterback. I'll
Well,
maintain
because
that.
Sean loves
But
him, man. Peyton loves Taysom, and he's gonna have a
yeah,
very short leash with James because James' reputation
yeah,
precedes him.
right.
It just is
So
what it is.
we'll see. We'll see. We shall definitely see. In the game that kind of got the most pub from the early window, Ravens and Lions, 19-17,
Whew.
capped off by a 60, I believe it was 63-yard.
66
66.
NFL record,
I did it. I didn't do it any justice. 66-yard field goal
unbelievable.
kick by Justin Tucker to win the game. A walk-off field goal kick, game-winning kick. 19-17. Ravens go to 2-1 when the Lions fall to 0-3. Anything that stands out to you about this game?
I like the Lions. They're like a lovable loser for me. They play hard, man. Like even
They play
last
hard for
week
that
when they got
coach, man. They play hard for that
they got
coach.
smacked by Green Bay in the second half, but even coming out in Lambeau Field, putting up the first half that they did, their first game of the season, they could easily lie down against the 49ers, but they came back and almost pulled off a miracle. They should have won this game. If it was any other person with a leg, aside from Justin Tucker, they would have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, we can talk about the Ravens and whatnot.
Their
Lamar
defense has
struggled.
played well so far too.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens got to the red zone, and the Lions defense just didn't break. So to me, I know the Ravens won, and we'll be talking about the Ravens more later on and throughout the rest of the year. But just showing love to the Lions, man. They're playing hard. They're playing hard, and they should have won this game. But no team loses football games like the Detroit Lions. I swear, bro. If you're gonna be
maybe the
what
Chargers,
NFL?
maybe the Chargers.
Mate,
The Chargers lose some bad games too.
To me, it goes. The Chargers lost some bad games during the Anthony Lynn era, but to me, like as a franchise,
No,
as a whole,
even during
Schottenheimer
Schottenheimer era,
yeah.
during the Turner era, I just every general, just every
When I think
the
of like
Chargers lose bad games.
unique ways to lose games, I think Detroit Lions, Atlanta Falcons, and then you can insert maybe the Chargers there.
Yeah, yeah. Falcons are pretty bad too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the Lions, man. Listen, as a Jet fan, I'd rather be where the Lions are right now. They've played
because they're
fun.
competing. Like
They've been
you love that team like
competing.
that.
Exactly. You turn on the football. You turn on the TV on Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, depending on where you're at, and your team gives you a solid effort. They may not win every game, but everybody understands the Lions are rebuilding. They're playing for another day, but they're being competitive, and that's what you want. That is what you want.
Mad at a team losing a 66-yard field goal.
Like you can't, especially when this team has no expectations. When when everybody knows it's a rebuild.
Right.
You just want to see them compete.
Right.
And that's all you can ask for if you're a Lions fan. And listen, if you're a Ravens fan, I think you have to be somewhat happy with your team. I mean, all the injuries, with all the injuries, and to be 2-1, some tough victories at that.
If Hollywood Brown actually saw the ball today, they probably would have won that game by 2 touchdowns.
True. But listen, if you're a Ravens fan, I think you still have to be positive with your team. You're 2-1.
Fort Lauderdale Brown.
The Fort Lauderdale. Deerfield Beach Brown. Sunrise Brown. No, man, listen. I think if you're a Ravens fan, I think you got to be not happy, but I think you have to be at least content with where your team is for all the injuries. I mean, this team has literally been decimated with injuries on both sides of football. And for you to be 2-1, with the tough victories that you've had, I think you're okay. I think you still feel good. Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. He's incredible. We know that. Even though this game wasn't his best showing, he still found a way when it mattered to make plays and put him in a position to win a game. So credit to the Ravens, man. It's not easy to win football games in this league. Everybody knows that. So you take the W and you move on. So
good teams win bad games.
That's exactly it. Cardinals 31, Jaguars 19. Jags fall to 0-3, while the Cardinals go to 3-0. And this was also an entertaining game. 109-yard return by, I forget what the guy's name is, but
Agnew, I think his last name is.
Agnew. Jamal Agnew, I think. Agnew. Fun play. Otherwise, competitive. Actually, a more competitive game than I think people gave it credit to. I didn't watch a lot of it, but the one thing that stood out for me is Trevor Lawrence struggling, man. Again, the young quarterbacks struggling. Basically,
Urban Meyer's not doing him any favors.
No.
So here's my beef. They had a possession where they took the lead in the second half, pounding the rock with James Robinson, pounding, 20 yards here, 8 yards, 6 yards. What's touchdown? Cool.
Right.
Get the ball back. Second play. What do? A flea flicker. Run the ball. It worked. And the flea flicker, pick six. So it's like you're not doing Trevor Lawrence any favors. If you see the runs working, continue to run the ball. And then instead of doing a flea flicker, there's this thing called play action. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but do something like that. Run a bootleg. Get him running. There are other ways to get him going off of running the ball the way they ran the ball. Like, to me, like, the flea flicker was like literally like, I understand.
It was stupid. It was stupid. It was stupid.
That's
I'll say it. It was stupid.
And I know Trevor made the decision to throw the ball where he did, and it was a pick six. But you have a young rookie quarterback.
But that's on coaching. That's on coaching, Josh. That's bad
what
coaching.
I'm saying. It's like that's what I'm saying. Coaching. Urban's not doing him any favors. Like, if you establish the run on the last possession to the point where you scored a touchdown on that, go back to it. Now maybe run a little to play action with some slants, something short. You have the receivers to do it. That's the thing about the Jaguars, too. It's not the Jaguars don't have receivers. Chark is a good receiver. Marvin Jones is a good receiver. Chenault is a good receiver. You have James Robinson who can catch the ball.
Yeah, they have pieces there.
Weapons. Yeah. Like, there's no, like, it's not like he's not surrounded by anyone who can do anything. Urban Meyers, like, I don't watch college football, but, like, just watching the Jaguars play when I have seen them play, like, it's just baffling to me. Like, the flea flicker to me it changed the game. That pick six changed the game. The whole game.
Terrible. Yeah, it's terrible coaching, man. It's terrible coaching. And It should be highlighted when it's just that bad. I mean, again, run the football. Run the football. If you've got
Right.
something that's working, run the football. Or like you said, if you do decide to pass in that situation, I don't know, maybe run a play action, do an RPO,
Right.
something. Listen, we value creativity, but there's times where it's creative and there's times where it's like creative to the point where it's stupid.
For no
And that
reason.
was stupid for no reason. Exactly,
Yeah.
for no reason. That's trying to get too cute. That's trying to get too cute.
Yeah.
But listen, even that I'm not too mad about because at least they're taking their shots. At least, I mean, listen, I'd rather the Jets try something like that. It didn't work, obviously, but even that is like, I hate going back to the Jets. We'll pass that, but listen, when you're a team, I guess they feel like, hey, when you're a team with the Jaguars that are building for a brighter day, you have to take some chances. You got to play a little loose and goosey, and maybe that's what they felt like. Now it didn't work.
But like, and the crazy thing too is like the guy who ran the football in the possession where they dominated was James Robinson. They ran the flea flicker with Carlos Hyde. So like, it's not even the guy who was dominating on the ground.
Here it was trying to give Urban a little bit of
like
break.
it's.
No, I know it's bad. It's bad. It's hard to rationalize it. It's bad. It's bad on so many levels.
Like if it's the guy who just smoked you for 70 yards on the ground, like I get it, but it's the backup who like you're like, oh, all right, he's in. Like you get what I'm saying? Just doesn't make sense.
Oh man, that was bad. That's so bad. All right, we're gonna run through these a little bit quicker because we want to get through some other stuff before we get out of here tonight. So Bills. Washington 43-21. Bills go to 2-1 while Washington goes to 1-2. And yeah, this was I guess we could take Taylor Heineke out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it
wasn't all of him.
It wasn't all him, but I think eventually it was going to happen. Yeah, and Buffalo's a tough place to play. I think it's one of those places that like it's a quick.
And it was windy. The weather was not great. Yeah,
Buffalo's one of those places like if the Bills get rolling and you get in that quicksand, it's really hard to get out of, especially if you don't have an offense. And Washington wins games on their defensive strength and controlling the clock. I mean, Buffalo wasn't going to let them do that. So got out of control.
Yeah, not much to say there. Raiders 31, Dolphins 28. A wild game. Raiders go to 3-0, and the Dolphins fall to 1-2. Wild game. Raiders win this with what I think like a couple minutes left in overtime, and go to 3-0. What do you have to say about this game?
The Raiders did everything in their power to lose this game. Like literally, like I mean, and credit to the Dolphins too, because I think a lot of it had to do with the Dolphins fighting as well.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like the Raiders were turning the ball over, but like 4th and 20, Jacoby Brissett completes a pass. 4th down at the goal, Jacoby Brissett like makes a move and scores. 2-point conversion. Like just there's so many things that happen where the Dolphins I thought were dead in the water. That's a cool pun. And and they made a game out of it. But the Raiders are a good football team, man. They're good. Derek Carr is really good. Derek Carr is really good.
Derek Carr is.
I think Edwards is a nice little find for them. Renfro seems to have like a solidified role there.
Edwards is a stud. Obviously
Darren Waller is like the second, third best tight end in the league right now. So they have weapons. Yep. Their defense probably needs to tighten up a bit, but they're a solid team.
Yeah, I don't love their defense. Their defense is kind of a no-name defense. They have some players, but I don't love their defense. But yeah, their offense is much improved, and they're doing this without Josh Jacobs too, which could be their best offensive player. Yeah, so credit to the Raiders, man. I think I'm a little surprised with the Raiders being 3-0. So yeah, they've played well. Derek Carr looks like he's back to his MVP form. Or his would have been MVP or could have been MVP form from a couple years ago. And Gruden's doing a good job. And yeah, credit to the Raiders and the Dolphins. Yeah, credit to them being down their quarterback, fighting after a disheartening, demoralizing loss last week to a division rival to come out and fight this game, a game that you really could have won, probably should have won. I know it's not going to taste well on the flight back, but it just shows you a team that's coached well. Brian Flores, last week aside, we all know he's a very good coach. And had this team ready to play and could have won this game on the road in a tough place to play with Jacoby Brissett. So that's credit to the Dolphins and credit to coach. So, Seahawks 17, Vikings 30. Vikings go to 1-2 while the Seahawks fall to 1-2. Kirk Cousins had a good game. Madison in for an injured Dalvin Cook, balled out, and the Seahawks still have some of the same issues that I think it's like a broken record, right?
It literally is. Yeah,
pretty much
it looks like the same team from last year that finished the season.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same. Like the offense is.
I don't love their offense. I've never loved their offense. To me, their offense is very it's deceiving,
random.
right?
It's like
That, but their offense is
yeah,
deceiving, right? Because you look at those bombs that Russell Wilson, those, I'm looking for the word, but those bombs that Wilson throws up there to Metcalf or throws up there to Lockett, and you think, wow, this is a great offense. Like, and not really. Outside of that, they don't really do much on offense. They're, you know what they are? It's like, again, back to a baseball analogy. You know that team that like all they do is hit home runs, but then everything, it's a home run or a strikeout. That's literally
great.
what the Seahawks are.
That's a great analogy.
It's like they literally either they hit a bunch of 3-run
And
home runs
and
or
so
they
you
strike
fear
out with
them,
guys on
and
base.
you fear them because
Exactly.
they can hit the home runs. It's like the Yankees. Like, to be honest with you, like Yankees the
Pretty
past like
much.
10 years,
Yes. Pretty
where it's
much.
like, man, they got Stanton and Judge. Like, you kind of fear that, but then it goes to the playoffs, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, they got 2 hit. Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's not, and they struck out 30 times. Yeah,
Yeah,
not a surprise, not a huge shock there.
yeah.
They don't string along innings, and that's kind of the issue with the Seahawks is that they
You're right.
don't
That's
string
a
along.
great analogy.
They don't
Yeah, you're
string
right.
along drives, and I think that by definition that wears out their defense. And the Seahawks defense is still not great. I
At
mean, they're
all.
just not. Outside of Wagner, not much to write home. I mean, Jamal Adams, for a defense to have Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams, it should be a lot better than what it's played so far this season, and it has
Yeah.
not. So the Seahawks, to me, listen, I think that they'll still be fine. They'll find a way to get into the playoffs. I have 4 teams in that division making it, but I think if you're a Seahawk fan right now, I think you still got to look at this team with, have we really improved? I mean, I think you could probably say the line is better, but outside of that,
They're literally the same team. I feel like
yeah,
I'm watching the same exact team from last year.
that's a broken record. That's a broken
Yeah.
record. It's definitely what it is. Bucks and the Rams. Rams get a big win at home, 34-24. Bucks fall to 2-1, while the Rams go to 3-0. Your boy, Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford deserves his
His flowers.
baby.
Maybe.
Yes,
We'll see. Hey, listen. Let's just let it play out, man. If at the end of this
No, you're right.
year
It's
the
early.
Rams play in an AFC championship game or in a Super Bowl and they win, or hell, they lose a classic 49-48, I will have nothing to say about Matthew Stafford. It's his year. I already said it. It's Matthew Stafford. No more excuses. Oh, I play in Detroit, and one of Ford's granddaughters
Showing
owns
out,
the
man.
teams, and it's
Yeah.
like, no, this is your time. And so far, so good. He's balling out. The Rams really took it to the Bucks. This was a closer game than I think the final score indicated. I think the Bucks just picked a bad time to have a bad game. I also think it was probably a little bit of I don't want to say a trap game because it is the Rams, but there's going to be a lot of emotion and a lot of energy with that game next week in Foxborough. So maybe maybe this was that game that you could kind of, I don't want to say
when it comes to
overlook.
matchups, to be honest with you, man, I think the Rams are a horrible matchup for the Bucks, because typically with all those weapons, the Bucks can outscore you. But with that Rams secondary, man, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that like they're going to completely shut down Tom Brady if they play him again in the playoffs. But if there's one defense that's going to like neutralize that offense, it's the Rams. Yeah. And then on the opposite end, torch your defense. Like, I just think it's a bad matchup for the Bucks. I know football's a lot about matchups, and I think the Rams just match up very well with the Bucks, man. I really do.
Yeah.
It's so
good point.
For me, man,
point.
I like the Rams a lot. I know that a lot of it has.
Well, the Rams are a good football team.
But that's secondary too, man. It's
sick.
Yeah,
sick.
And then when Brady has lost in the playoffs or lost even when his prime, what is it? Because they get him pressure, making him move out of the pocket. And you have Aaron Donald, bro. Like
the one thing I would say about the Rams is I'm still concerned about the running game. With injuries and stuff like that, and even without the injuries, I don't think they're a running game. I like Cam Akers a lot. Obviously, he's hurt, but their running game is not great, and that would be my concern. I don't think it's a concern right now, but I think as you go farther along in the season and into the postseason, I think that would be a major concern for me if I'm a Rams fan. Is the lack of
McVay gets creative with that stuff, man. He runs like stretch plays,
that creativeness lasts only so long.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know. That's just, and I'm not nitpicking. I'm just
you're right.
Something that I'm seeing. That's the one thing that would concern me if I'm a Rams is the running game. But yeah, as far as the Bucks, listen, these games happen. They didn't get destroyed, so it wasn't like a blowout. It just, they finally ran up against a team that punched them in the mouth a little bit, and They didn't have an answer for it. So the Bucs will be fine.
I'm taking the Rams,
the Bucs
man.
will be fine.
I'm so excited for Matthew Stafford, baby. Matthew Stafford stand over here.
Your boy.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting.
Then the Sunday night football game, very good game. Packers get the big win, 30-28. Aaron Rodgers, 37 seconds left down the field. Big play to
incredible. That
Devontae
pass he had to
Adams.
Devontae to start that drive was
the
unreal.
49ers defense there in that drive was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, but
and the 49ers go to 2-1 and the Packers go to 2-1. And listen, I think all is right in Cheeseheadville.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you go on the road, especially because historically, well, for Aaron Rodgers at least, he hasn't done well in San Francisco. So
in California.
In California as a whole, I didn't know that. To me,
apparently, I thought somebody was throwing that out there. Like Aaron Rodgers in California does not play well. Apparently,
yeah. So yeah, for me, I don't take anything away from San Francisco. I don't look at San Francisco and think of them any differently. I just think that Green Bay came in and they did what they had to do. They played really well. I thought San Francisco got off to a slow start, but I think once they got going, they played really well. They just, that slow start just kind of killed them.
Yeah, that slow start killed them for sure. Something about the Niners, I don't love their offense. To me, they have a good offense, but it's not great. To me, sometimes their offense is like pulling teeth sometimes. I don't know, for me, just me watching them from afar. They don't have great players on offense. They have really good players, but
I like their players on offense, but they don't have good running game right now. That's the problem.
They don't have a good running game, which is a problem. But even the receivers, like I like Deebo Samuels. He's probably the one that I like the most.
Ayuk is good, man. I don't know why he was in a dog.
Ayuk is okay. Ayuk is okay. But again, Kittle? That's the thing. Oh, yeah, of course, Kittle. Yeah. Besides Kittle, my apologies. Kittle, of course, is all world. But yeah, outside of Kittle, and Samuel's okay. But I don't know. It's just something about their offense that just always I hate watching them sometimes. It's just like it feels like it's harder than it should be with their offense. Yeah. I don't know if that's just because they're banged up right now, but I don't know. But
Dow Brown says it's time for Trey Lance. I disagree, actually. I think Jimmy's
I disagree. Trey, I think if you put Trey Lance in there, I think you'll be seeing a lot of what you're seeing with a lot of the other young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Where
I think Jimmy's playing very
tough
well.
Times. Yeah,
I do.
I don't think you're going to see Trey Lance this year. I don't, unless barring an injury. And with Garoppolo, you always have to say that, but I just don't think that you'll see Trey Lance this year. I think this will be an apprentice year for Trey Lance. You got to remember, this kid
might help him out in the long run. I mean,
this kid hadn't played until training camp this year. This kid hadn't played football since 2019. So, I know he had the one game last year, but he really hasn't played football since 2019. You can't throw a kid out there, especially in that division where it's a bloodbath every week. Yeah, that's not doing right by your young player. And you got to do right by him. So, but listen, I'm with you. I don't think there was anything. I don't think the Niners lost anything in this game. I think they're still where they need to be. And then the Packers, keep their head above water and, are starting to kind of get some sea legs up under them. So, I think it's a good win for the Packers, man. And, it must be nice to win games when you don't have offensive weapons around you. Amazing. Who'd have thought? Anyways, and I guess we could preview the Monday night matchup. The Eagles and the Cowboys both coming in at 1-1. Eagles playing, I think, better than I think most people expected, and the Cowboys kind of typical Cowboys meandering around, up and down. Although they had a big win against LA last week. What do you got for this game?
I actually got the Cowboys. I got the Cowboys big, which is opposite of what I've been hearing from a lot of people in the media. I mean, a lot of people are on the Eagles right now, but I look at the Eagles, man, and Justin Fields has been playing nice, but they have played the Falcons. They played the 49ers, in which the offense did nothing. And I know the defense played well against the 49ers, but like you just said, it's like that offense is like pulling teeth. And outside of that, like I said, like Ayuk is, to me, someone who is a significant wide receiver who they pretty much bench against the Eagles. So the Eagles haven't seen a significant offense all season. I think Dak's going to light them up. I really do. I don't think the Eagles are a good football team. I think they're the worst team in the division. I think they kind of got by with the first 2 games with smoke and mirrors a little bit, playing a really bad Falcons team and, just playing a little over their heads defensively against the 49ers. But again, in Dallas, I know Dallas's defense isn't the greatest, but I can't see Justin Fields keeping up with that offense. So I think Cowboys, I'll say like 31-17. I think it's not even close.
Interesting. I actually think this is going to be close. It's a rivalry game. It's Cowboys Eagles, so and the
Eagles traditionally play well in Dallas.
Yes. So I always tend to keep these games close when it's divisional matchups like this,
Yeah.
unless it's just such an overwhelming, disparity between the two teams. And I somewhat there is, but somewhat there isn't. It's again still a rivalry. I've actually been impressed with the Eagles and how they've played. I think their defense is
I have to.
improved. Now, how much improved we shall see. I
They're
think
getting their
this is a
first
game.
test.
Yeah, first test. I think this is a game close, like two through 3.5 quarters, and I think the Cowboys kind of pull away.
Yeah.
I can see it being. I honestly I can see it being similar to the Monday night game last week with the Lions and the Packers, where
Right.
the Eagles will
Eagles up
give
at
you a little bit of
halftime, and then the
hope,
Packers coming. Yeah.
right? And then I could see the Cowboys. The Cowboys, for all their talent, sometimes their offense is kind of hit or miss. For all that talent, which is amazing to me, their offense sometimes is a little scatterbrain, and
Yeah.
you just never know what offense you're getting. Some weeks you get the Cowboys team that can score 50 on anybody, and then some weeks you get the Cowboys offense that scores 17 points. You just never know what you're getting with this team. So,
Yeah.
but I think this is I actually like your final score 31-17, but I actually have it a close 31-17.
Right. I get it. It's like 2017 with like 10 minutes left to go in the
Right.
fourth, and yeah.
Right. They get a pick, they score, and
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
else happens. Yeah, I can see it being a close game for the most part, And yeah, that is week 3 in a nutshell. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, we're back. Now, a good fun week of football. Besides being a Jet fan, yeah, it must be crazy too. I watch all these other teams, and it's like, wow, that's what it feels like to score points. Like, wow, this is fun.
It's. I know you're joking, but the Jets literally did not score a point today. So like you're being
The Jets haven't scored a touchdown in 2 games. Like,
That's right.
That's not, God.
What?
Oh my God.
Oh man.
And
It's
one
okay,
more
man.
thing, and I promise we'll move on to other things.
Okay.
Enough with the Jets. But if you look at the rosters, right? Like if you look at all 32 team rosters, right? You look up and down the rosters, right? Even the bad teams, Detroit, Jacksonville, Cincinnati. You look at all those rosters and you compare that to what the Jets throw out there every week. It's like night and day. I mean, literally night and day. That's why I honestly believe, and I know sometimes it's easy to say this, like in all sports. Oh, this team would lose to the Browns, or the Browns would lose. A couple years ago, people said the Browns would lose to Alabama, and no, I really believe this Jet team would have a hard time beating like Alabama. Like seriously, like I think they would probably win, but it'd be a game.
It'd be close. I don't
Jesus
know, man.
Christ.
I have a hard time believing that.
Oy vey, oy vey. Let's move on. Let's move on to some other things. Hey, so Jonathan Isaac
Oh God.
apparently gets his science and his medical reasoning from watching Donald Trump.
But also God.
Oh yeah, God. Sorry. Yeah, and God. He doesn't trust doctors apparently,
No.
although he just had an ACL surgery with a
Manny, I feel like I'm
doctor
living in an alternate universe,
and an
man.
anesthesiologist, and you sat in a hospital. It's like, oh, no, you know what? Listen, I think it's unfair. We're being too judgmental, Josh. For all we know, Jonathan Isaac could have just did this shit like in the black market somewhere. Like he could have probably just went, he could have went to Ecuador somewhere, and they could have just Jimmy rigged this shit. Like, how do we know he even got a legitimate ACL surgery? Like, I just had one in January.
I know you're kidding, but like I'm too exasperated to even go along with this shtick right now.
This is awful. This is
Bro,
awful,
I'm
man.
exhausted.
Like,
I mean, here's the
what are we doing here?
this is the thing. There are two things when people tell me they want to get the vaccine that I will disagree with you, but I won't flame you for it, and I'll step back and go, okay, I understand. One, if you had an allergic reaction to a vaccine beforehand,
Mhm.
I'm not going to tell you to get a vaccine, no matter what.
Mhm.
Okay, fine, get it, whatever. Two, if you have a pre-existing condition in which your doctor tells you, I'll leave it up to you or recommend you not to do it, which honestly, I don't even know what pre-existing condition that would be because I have done research on things like lupus and cancer, and even the CDC recommends that you should probably still get the vaccine anyway. But like I
Be
said,
that as it may.
be that as it may, if you have a pre-existing condition, you talk with your doctor, and your doctor said, this is what it is, but it's up to you. I'm not going to recommend it. Fine. The problem I have with these NBA players and this whole anti-vax movement filled with people who weren't anti-vax until the government told them they should get a vaccine, which is another thing is that they're throwing out reasons that don't exist. They are creating arguments that off of just false information, misinformation. And it's really frustrating because there's no I don't know how to have an honest dialogue with someone when you're throwing conspiracy at me, when you're throwing God at me, when you're throwing I just don't trust the CDC because they're the CDC. Like, how do you have an honest conversation with someone like that? And honestly, like, how do you look at the numbers and say to yourself, like, this vaccine is killing people or this vaccine isn't working? Like, you really have to be like willfully ignorant to think that. You really do. Like, even if you're someone, and I said, like, the two situations I just gave, even if you're someone who doesn't want to get the vaccine because you had an allergic reaction to vaccines before, or you don't want to get the vaccines because you have a pre-existing condition. If I was that person, if I was someone who was allergic to a vaccine, I still would be like, hey, listen, I'm not getting it, but you should. Like, y'all should.
Right.
If you can, you're lucky that you can. Like, that's how I would be looking at it right now. The fact that people can see that 95% of the people who are in hospitals and dying are unvaccinated and still think to themselves, yeah, I'm not going to do it, when they're healthy and haven't had any bad experiences with vaccines and had been vaccinated themselves, because you had to go to public school, to go to college and things of that nature. To me, it's like, we as a country, to me, have just lost our fucking minds. Like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone right now. Like, 1000% the Twilight Zone. What's going on? It's frustrating. It's frustrating. And these
It's just,
religious
listen,
exemptions
all
are
jokes
an absolute joke. An absolute
it's a
joke.
joke and an insult. An insult is what it is, right? Because
Yeah.
you are actually making a mockery of the system, and you're actually making a mockery of people that actually do have religious exemptions, that actually do have, um, you know, religious things that keep them from getting vaccinated or whatnot. But it's a joke, man. I mean, these athletes in general, I'll lump the NBA player with the NFL player, with Major League Baseball players, whatever.
It's them. It's a country.
I mean, well, yeah, it's on the macro level. Yes, it's the country. At a
Yeah, yeah.
micro level, I'm just talking about these athletes. That's just a joke, man. And the sad part is, like, a lot of people, it's the celebrity culture that we live in, right? Like, they worship these people, and it's like a lot of people watch these people, and they think, well, if and obviously Jonathan Isaac is a lesser level, but like, oh, if some kid out there or some person out there, oh, well, Kyrie Irving won't get the shot. What the fuck should I get the shot? Or etc. It's just it just gives me a headache, man. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, because it's nauseating, and it's just ignorant. That's what it is. It's just ignorant. It's so ignorant. And again, I say it all the time. We as Americans don't know how good we have it. I mean, to just have the privilege to be $1 million, and I don't want to get into, oh, you're $1 million athlete, all this other stuff, that stuff. But I mean, to literally be an athlete, a world-class athlete at that, and to have the privilege to say, I don't want to get a shot that could potentially save my life and save my teammates' lives and their families and their families and all that, and the staff, the arena staff, the medical teams, all the other employees of the organization that you are potentially putting at risk by not getting vaccinated. If I have the opportunity to save their lives, yeah, nah, I'm not going to, because whatever. Because I'm just privileged. Like, we literally have countries around the world that can't get the vaccine, that cannot get the vaccine. And we're throwing out there just bullshit theories and just nonsensical things. I mean, the same thing with the Nicki Minaj and her cousin's man's balls type shit.
None of it makes the frustrating thing is that none of it
it's
makes
stupid.
sense. There's no conflicting data saying that this is dangerous.
But but the thing is, you're causing more damage than you are helping. That's the thing. It's like, you're not even like as a public figure, these people need to understand that, like, for better or worse, people look up to you. A lot of people take your word and value it for whatever reason. I don't, you don't, people I know don't, but there are people, for every person like us, there's people that are like, oh yes, queen, Nikki says she's not getting it, well, I'm not getting it. Like, you're causing more harm than you're helping by doing this shit. So it's like, and I don't think that she meant to cause a big uproar about it, but it's like, you got to be careful what you're putting out there. like, oh, this person said that their cousin man's got this shit in their balls, and it's nonsensical, but it's also hurting the situation further by doing stuff like this. And it's the same thing with Jonathan Isaac and just the stupid excuse. Now he's saying he was taken out of context, or that's not what he actually meant to say. Which is like
He
it's
believes. I
damage
mean,
control.
it's damage control, man. Tweeted something last year during the Black Lives Matter protest when Jonathan Isaac stood for the flag. Um, People were calling him out for that. I'm like, listen, he can stand for the flag all he wants, but it is notice. I do notice that he, follows Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro. So like that just pretty much tells you where he is politically and where he
Exactly.
aligns with, his way of thinking. And to me, like I said, like if I'm somebody who, like I said before, who has had allergic reactions to vaccines or had children who had allergic reactions to vaccines and have legitimate questions and have like legitimate fears because of anecdotal situations that happened in my life or have a pre-existing condition, like I'm fucking pissed at these people making a mockery of my concerns because that's what it is. Like
Mm.
they have basically stolen your platform. They have literally taken your fears and your concerns, and rightfully so, and just absolutely just made a complete mockery out of it. Like a total joke. Because the
Yeah.
anti-vax movement in this country now, like, is not the same anti-vax movement that it maybe existed 3 years ago. It has now been co-opted by far right to right-leaning people. And honestly, there are some centrist and liberal people in there, just random mix of people who just don't trust the government. Like we have been so embedded to not trust the government with anything that people just decide, no, just not going to trust the CDC, and then whatever will just find whatever information they want online to, believe what they want to believe, and confirmation bias, like doesn't matter how much information gets, doesn't matter what studies get thrown. It doesn't matter that you show them the facts that 95% of people who are hospitalized and dying of COVID since a vaccination are, unvaccinated. It doesn't matter what you show them. You can show them every statistic in the world. But if Nicki Minaj says that her cousin's balls grew, then, oh, you see, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Not knowing there's a difference between anecdotal information and data and studies.
Right.
And even if you tell them that, they don't freaking care because they want to live in this world where, hey, they're right and smarter than everybody because I don't trust the government and I'm thinking for myself. I'm a free thinker. And I don't know how to have conversations with these people. I've given up. I've literally have given up. I mean, I
It's a
don't know what
no-win
to do.
battle. It's a no-win battle, right? Because where
Yeah.
you're not going to win. Because again, like you said, you could present every level of scientific evidence and data
Just
to support your argument, and it's like they don't hear it, right? Because again, they've I, I don't know if it's not, I don't it's not virtue signaling. It's not. I don't even think it's identity politics. It's just again, you know, this aura of like, well, I believe it, so it's got to be true. Like it doesn't matter
that,
what the
and like
facts say.
I legitimately think people think going against the grain makes them feel smarter. Like they think they're
Right.
smarter because they're going against the CDC. And
Right.
I don't know people who study this their whole fucking lives.
It's so irritating. And what it is, it's like it's so privileged to have that
Yeah.
thinking because again, you're Kyrie Irving. You may feel like, hey, I'm gonna be good. And this is not to bag on Kyrie. I like Kyrie. I have my issues with Kyrie, but I also like Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? I think he does a lot of good. I think he does do a lot of bad. He's a complex figure in that rap.
He is very
Um,
complex.
but how privileged do so you're basically sitting there saying, no, I'm not getting the vaccine because of the microchip theory and all that other dumb
Is
shit.
that what he said, or is that someone
The people
speculating?
are connecting the dots because of his
Okay.
past, whatever. He hasn't
Yeah,
said anything on
I don't
it,
want to
so I
ascribe
don't
that to him until I
I don't
hear
want
him
to put
say
I don't
it.
want to ascribe that to him. You're right, we shouldn't.
Yeah.
But people are connecting that. But whatever. Kyrie Irving is one of the people that has not gotten vaccinated, or at least allegedly has not gotten vaccinated. Right. So if you're Kyrie Irving, you're not going to get vaccinated. What about the poor security guard making $15 an hour that now is being put at risk? And now he has to go home. He may have kids. He may have a grandmother that he's caring for. Now he's got to be put at risk, or she has to be put at risk. Why? Because you're too privileged to actually just go get a fucking shot.
Right.
Like,
But
and that's
it's
what I
also
can't.
people don't understand the science too, right? Because they'll be like, well, if that person's vaccinated, then why do they care? Well, it's like, well, they care because the longer that you guys stay unvaccinated, the virus can mutate, and then the virus mutates, and the vaccines
Right.
are less effective, which is also a reason why the vaccines after month have been less effective. Is because this virus is mutating. We have a Delta variant now. We're gonna have another variant in a little bit, and we're gonna have to get vaccines all over again because this virus is mutating. Like they don't understand that. And it's frustrating because when you tell them that, then it's just something else. And then Also,
Right.
the same people who don't want to get, I don't want to say the same people, but a lot of the same people who don't want to get vaccinated are same people who don't want to wear a mask. And it's just like, it's not even about the vaccine at this point. It's not about the science of the vaccine. That's
This is
the
just an agenda
frustrating
now.
thing.
It's his
It,
agendas now.
yeah,
And but I hate the you know me. I'm someone that always likes to call out bullshit and
yeah,
inconsistencies where I see it. And to me, it's like with the NFL players. Like these are the same people that willingly play a game that can lead
right,
you to death.
right,
And nope, no issues. But the
yeah,
vaccine, no, you wait a minute. God damn
right,
it. I'm not getting anything injected in
right,
my body. Yeah, let me in. Oh, hey, you can't play next week if you don't inject steroids into your body. Okay, sure.
right,
Don't bring it in. Or again, I'm not ascribing this to every NFL player, but
right, right. No, I get what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying? But these guys do whatever it takes to play on Sunday, right? But God
Right,
forbid a vaccine. No, no, no. You wait a
right.
second. God damn it. I'm not,
No, you're right.
concussions, fine. CTE, fine. Fucking
Inject
inject
steroids
me
at
with,
halftime because I pulled a hamstring. Cool.
right. But, a vaccine, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, the guys that run the Jets, fuck no. Like that's where they draw the line. And it's just like, it's ridiculous to me. That's where I'm like, I literally know literal people that do drugs, like heavy shit.
Same.
And like, oh no, I'm not getting that fucking vaccine, that government shit. Like, I've seen you sniff coke out of an urn before, but God forbid, a vaccine is where you draw the line here. I'm like, okay, got it. And it's like, and yes, I know that's anecdotal, but it's like, it just, again, it's inconsistencies and hypocrisies that get me. It's like, be consistent. You know what I mean? It's like, it's frustrating. It gives me a headache. And again, like you said, it's not even rooted in any like real tangible
It's
substantive
not.
belief. It's just,
Not
well, I'm just going to be a contrarian and I'm going to be, I don't trust the
because
government.
I'm fine. Because I'm okay. And if you're
Exactly.
vaccinated, why do you care?
Right. Until it affects you.
Right.
And then
Until like your aunt or
different.
grandmother dies, and then all of a sudden it's like,
Right.
and then maybe I am a little sensitive because my uncle passed away. I had an aunt who was intubated in freaking Florida like last month, who was this close to dying, who was vaccinated. Thank God she was vaccinated. I'm 1000% convinced that vaccination saved her
Exactly.
life.
Yeah. Exactly. Listen, I have my mom we talked about it. Like my mom's
Yeah.
up there, like my aunts, family members. Like, yeah, so this stuff is sensitive to me. Like some idiot out there that's not vaccinated gets my fucking mom sick. And now my mom has asthma, like serious asthma.
Right.
Like she's, now she's vaccinated, but you don't know. Like, so these
Right.
things, like you affect other people and you're just willingly choosing to just be a contrarian for the sake of it, for the fuck of it. Like, because what? Because you just want to prove.
Right. Because they don't want to understand. And that's the thing. Like, that's what bothers me. A lot of these people, they don't want to understand it. They don't want to understand it. They just want to poke holes in whatever they can. And even when you prove those conspiracy theories to be false, they just don't want to get the vaccine for whatever.
I find it funny that a lot of the anti-vaxxers are also pro-life, yet by you being anti-vax, you're endangering the children that you seek to protect. The inconsistencies there.
I just don't. To me, I understand that, and you and I'll give us credit because I think you and I treaded this conversation very carefully, especially in the beginning. We're like, hey, let's see how it works. Like, we haven't promoted any type of like pro-vax. We haven't. Like, as a show, we have not done so. We have our own opinions on it, but I think just up until now, like there's just been enough information. Enough data has been collected. There have been enough dead bodies and hospitalizations for you to see what the story is here. There's no reason why someone who is a healthy individual who has never had an allergic reaction to vaccines or doesn't have a pre-existing condition that can be affected by a vaccine shouldn't get a vaccine. Period. And it is your choice. I'm not saying it should be like federally mandated and we should get your arm and stick it in you. Like, that's a whole nother issue, but to me, it's like, I understand there's quote unquote risk with taking a vaccine, but what's weigh the risk here? You know what I mean? Like, the risk is nowhere near, as drastic if you don't take the vaccine. So I just,
man. Yeah,
just having a hard time, man. I'm having a hard time having conversation because a lot of these people are my friends too. Like, I have one of my best friends. Like, I'm not going to say who it is, but like we had this whole conversation. He's like, I can cure COVID with my mind. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What are you? And see, that's the shit that I can't. That stuff. I'm sorry. And listen. I don't know your best friend, but it's stuff like that. It's like I cannot take that stuff. Like that is that's just ignorance. That's just stupidity and ignorance.
And I was
because
like,
it's like if you really say that, if you
Yeah.
say that, then I have to question whether you're smart enough to actually understand the situation and how
And that's the thing. That's what I would tell
complex
myself. I
this
don't
is.
understand what is the downside. Like if like what's the downside to it for you? If you don't think it's that dangerous, what is the downside? If it's proving to, shield the rest of your community and the people that you love, what's the downside of getting it? That's what I don't understand. There has not been proven to be any type of significant downside with it at all. Like at all.
Again, privilege. That's it. It's privilege. We Americans are so privileged that we can basically say we're not going to get it just because. While you have countries like India, people dying because they can't get enough vaccines. Countries all over Asia, Europe's even can't
Right.
get enough vaccines. But we as entitled, privileged Americans, $1 million athletes that make more money than some nations' GDPs, and we're basically telling people, no, I don't want it. Yeah, I just don't want it. I just don't want to take it. But that's what makes it. That's makes
And
me.
then the religious
Makes me.
exemptions to find a way around it. Like, come
But
on,
you know
man.
what? I blame the league. I blame the league, and this is where I call out Adam Silver and I call out the league, the NBA. They're gutless. Because let me see Adam Silver show some real guts and say, no, you got. Listen, I'm no fan of David Stern. I think David Stern was
Oh, he
toxic in a
wouldn't.
lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
But at the very least, that'll show me something. Like, no, you motherfuckers are gonna get vaccinated, or you're not gonna play in this league. Have some guts. Have some guts. Do it. But no, he's not going to do that, right? Because God forbid he pisses off,
Well, that's
Chris
the thing.
Paul or somebody or
We've
whatever.
been living like in like the fucking like paranoia of these people, right? Like for the whole COVID pandemic, we opened up early because of these people who didn't want freaking lockdowns, because we've been living in their paranoia. We opened a little earlier than we should have because we were sick about hearing about tyranny and we wanted to satisfy them. Then we wore masks and we released the mask mandate a little bit earlier than we should have.
Tyranny as black people are getting murdered on the streets by police officers. But
Right. Please don't get me started on that. Then we released the mask mandate a little earlier because the same reason why, because people weren't wearing masks and people were sick of wearing masks. So let's release the mask. It's the same thing. We are catering to this freaking loud group of people who are just like, to me, just ruining this whole process. And that's the frustrating thing for me. Like
well,
the fact that we're catering to these people. It's insane. In the name of, this is not tyranny. This is not what's the word I'm looking for? Segregation. This isn't, oppression. Like the fact that
this
people
isn't
actually
Selma.
are making
This isn't Selma, guys.
yeah, the fact that people are actually making comparisons to like the Holocaust is like fucking mind blowing. And I'm telling you, man, I don't know how to have these conversations anymore. Like I've literally given up on a lot of.
Oh, I don't
people.
anymore.
I've stopped.
I'm done.
I
I'm
don't know
done
how to do it
because it's
anymore.
like it's no win, and all you're gonna do
Yeah.
is get yourself even more angry and more frustrated about it in
Yeah.
the long run. And it's just like, that's it, man. I'm just that's where I'm at, man. You know what I tell people? I'm just like, you know what? Listen, I think you should comply. When you tell my brothers and sisters when they get shot in the street unceremoniously, well, you should have complied. Well, you should just comply to your federal government and to your mandates. If Michael Brown should have just complied, why can't you comply? That's what I'm gonna just go.
See, but I don't even like that logic because it's implying that the government is bad and that these vaccines are bad when they're not. They're literally saving lives. Like it's
Saving lives.
like there's no doubt in my mind the vaccine saved my aunt's life. Like no,
absolutely,
zero doubt,
and
zero
continue
doubt.
to save other people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's like we have 600,000. I don't even know what the number is. 600, close to 700,000 people dead. Moms, dads, aunts, sisters, brothers.
Yeah.
And people just don't care. It just doesn't happen again until it happens to you.
Right.
But
Daryl says here, people notice that Kyrie liked to post about the vaccine booting
I
black
saw
people
that.
to see his computer.
Yeah.
Like, and listen, I'm gonna say this. I'll just be completely honest with you. Kyrie's a mixed bag to me. Overall, I like him as a person. I think he wants to do well. I think he does what he can to help the community out, and I respect that about him. But he's not as smart as he thinks he is. And I just hate to be as blunt as that, but he's not. He's a conspiracy theorist. He thinks that, the answer that is the most simple answer could never be the answer, right? The simple answer of the CDC says this can't be the answer. The simple answer of the world is round can't be the answer. And he thinks he has to be this intellectual that pulls back layers that aren't there. And he has this fan base that's just always protecting him and goes to bat for him no matter. It's honestly like really similar to Kanye to me. He's like the Kanye West of the NBA to
It's
me,
actually a good comparison.
because he's
Yeah,
so
they
great that
enable
people,
him. They
yeah,
enable him.
they enable him, and it's like and I said this, I like Kyrie. I think he's a net positive. I think he does fantastic things that you don't hear about. Like, I've heard stories about Kyrie and his generosity and his philanthropy that don't get shown on the news, and I respect him 1,000%. But he's not this intellectual that he thinks he is.
Well,
He's
you know
not.
what? Well, you know what it is too. Is I think it's like a product of so many in the media ripping him, and almost to a point of unfairness that you have this group of people that are like, oh, the media's ganged up on him so much that now we have to defend. We have to go the other way.
Well, yeah, but both
We
can
have
be
to
true,
over
right?
defend him.
Yeah, both can be true. Like
Yeah, true.
that both can be happening.
Mhm.
You know, and to me, that's not an excuse to just dismiss conspiracy theory, especially conspiracy theory that's killing people. Like, people are
Yeah,
dying because of this. We have
I'm
over
trying to look for.
700,000 people have died because of this virus. Like, like the fact that that doesn't stop people in their tracks is crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm looking for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar quote from today or this past couple days,
Oh
where
yeah, I
he's
saw that.
basically saying, NBA players, and we're going to question Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This guy marched for civil rights. Like,
Right.
no one is as smart, as thoughtful, as eloquent as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We're going to question him. We're going to call him, we're going to call him a coon. Please try.
But especially because, like, this,
It's
what he's
just
saying and what we're saying is like based in reality and data.
Yeah, exactly. It's just basic reality, man.
Yeah.
It's like 600,000 people are dead because of this horrible virus. Go get a fucking shot.
Right.
It's not going against you. Again, if you have a prior condition, and again, I'm saying this as a black man in America, as a Latino man in America, my people have been listen, we don't even have to relitigate
No,
the
you're
shit
right.
that our people have gone through.
You're right.
But even I am saying, like, go get a fucking shot, man. Go get a fucking shot. It's been around for 8-9 months now. It's been proven that it works. The numbers have gone down. The mortality rate has gone down drastically.
Overwhelmingly proven that it works. Not just like kinda, like overwhelmingly proven.
Get a shot. That's it. Get a shot. Stop being fucking privileged. Go get a shot. There's literally people all over the world, other countries less fortunate than us, that have to make tough decisions, have to lose family members because they don't have the vaccine. They literally do not have enough supply of the vaccine. And you're literally making a conscientious decision to not get the vaccine for nothing other than privilege. And that's what I call it, other than privilege, because it's not even anything tangible or substantive. You're just literally making the choice not to get it. It's selfish. And that's how I end that. It's just selfish. Selfish. Wrapping up this week, our old friend GW was in the news this week. Had a speech somewhere, giving a speech to, I don't know. I think he was like on a campaign run or something for somebody. I don't remember where the exact location
was. 2021 George W. Bush Rehabilitation Tour.
The Rehabilitation Tour. Yeah, that's what it really was. It was a GWB, George W. Bush Rehabilitation Tour. Yeah. And he got met with some critiques and an actual heckler who basically heckled him about his war crimes, and that's what I'll call them, war crimes. And yeah, man, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I am still disgusted that 20 plus years later, and we're trying to rehabilitate this man. We are really actively, and not just we, I say we,
media,
the left and the right, are rehabilitating this man when this man did so much harm and so much damage to this country. Damage and issues that we're still facing to this day started with Bush. It didn't start with Trump. It started with Bush. Yeah. I would argue one of the reasons we got Trump is because of George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Like, and this man gets to walk around here and be lauded as some great misunderstood figure in history.
Yeah. No, well, he gave Michelle Obama candy, man. Like,
oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Him and Michelle Obama are besties.
Yeah.
So that makes it okay. Got it. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's infuriating. It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the lives of the many Americans that died in a war for nothing.
Yeah.
That he lied us into. Literally days, hours, forget days, hours after them fucking towers fell, he was plotting an invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq. Plotting.
Yeah.
Literally him and his administration were plotting getting us into Iraq, figuring out a way to get us into Iraq.
Cheney deserves as much equal blame as he does in my mind.
Oh, they're all tied at the hip. It's a collective.
Yeah.
The George W. Bush administration, all of them, they all have blood on their hands.
Yeah.
They started 2 wars, thousands of American soldiers, men and women dead for nothing, literally nothing. I served a war, came back, my back is fucked up, knees are fucked up for what? Nothing.
Man.
Nothing. And then the most disgusting part is that you're trying to rehabilitate this man, liberals out there, because you hate Trump, because you have Trump derangement syndrome. Now you're going to basically sit there and whitewash history with Bush. It's a war criminal.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if they start doing that with one war criminal, they're gonna have to do it with other war criminals as well. Like you're gonna, if you're gonna hold Bush accountable, then you got to hold Obama accountable. You know what I mean? So like the media is not gonna go down that route.
They're not going to go down that way, but this is why that's why shows like our shows, the Vanguard, all the other shows on the internet that are important, because the things that you're not going to hear on here, you're not going to hear on MSNBC. You know, they're going to fawn and laud over how George W. Bush is so great, and he's just misunderstood. He's just a misunderstood figure in history. Like, really? Misunderstood? That's what we're going to put it? That's what we're going to characterize it as? Misunderstood. Got it. It's sickening, man. It's sickening. I wish I had the clip to play, because I honestly, it deserves to be played. Because that person basically said everything that needed to be said in just a short little 40-second minute video clip or whatever. I forget what the guy's name is.
Might be able to play it for you.
He was a war veteran. Now I got to find it, because we got.
I got it. I think I got it. No, I can't find it. Never mind.
I'll try to find it before the show's over, but yeah, man, it's disgusting, the rehabilitation, and it hasn't just been recently. Like it's been happening pretty regularly over the last couple of years, man. Since Trump, they've tried to rehabilitate, Bush and these neocon era conservatives, man, as like the Lincoln Project, literally filled with a bunch of Bush era neocon alums, and it's like, come on, man, you listen. That's why I used to get so pissed off when people used to have arguments with me about, like Trump is uniquely bad and he's the worst president we've ever had. I'm like, did you forget about George W. Bush? Like, literally a guy who got us into 2 wars and the biggest financial collapse since the Great Depression. Did you forget about that one? That guy, he like literally existed like not that long ago. But Trump, because he's mean and he's a buffoon and he touches women, which I'm not trying to make light of that, but you know what I mean? Like, he's uniquely bad. He's the worst thing we've ever had. Like, we literally had presidents that were slave owners, but Trump is the worst thing we've ever had. Okay, got it.
So I got the video here. I know I saw the video on the Majority Report, Sam Cedar. So shout out to them. I don't know if this is legal what we're doing, but I'm just gonna give them credit because
fuck it. It's legal enough.
Yeah. So shout out to Sam Cedar and the Majority Report. This is where I'm grabbing the video from. Here we go. Is it playing?
I used him, Dad used him. He was a very smart man. It was awesome to have. And Mother, of course, was around too.
Mr. Bush, when are you going to apologize for the million Iraqis that are dead because you lied? You lied about weapons of mass destruction. You lied about connections to 9/11. You lied about Iraq being a threat. You sent me to Iraq. You sent me to Iraq in 2003. My friends are dead. Shot you in Castillo. You killed people. You lied. You lied about WNT. A million Iraqis are dead because you lied. My friends are dead because you lied. You need to apologize. Apologize.
Are you with this gentleman? No.
One of the things.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that guy served, by the way. Mike Preisner. I think he also hosts a YouTube channel. He's a popular commentator, former Iraqi war veteran. Shout out to him. Love to have him on the show someday too. Yeah, he said everything that Needed to be said. Absolutely.
And it was straightforward too.
100%.
Like it's just one you lied. Like it wasn't like this is what happened. Like and like no conspiracy, no like just information that nobody would know. It's just simple stuff that I think we all have come to the conclusion, both left and right. Because
But it's not even come to a conclusion. It's been proven. Just read
Right.
the Afghan papers. Read
Right.
the 9/11 paper. Like
Exactly.
it's proven
So
now.
it's a fact. It's a fact. And just and the fact that people fucking booing him in the room. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like this man served our country. He has dead friends. Like he's seen some shit, and you're gonna fucking boo him? Are you out of your mind? While this thing has been proven, like I that's why I can't get along. I can't get on board with politicians on either side of the aisle saying they support our troops, man. It's fucking bullshit, man. And these people come home with PTSD, injuries, and just fucking toss them to the side, man. It's disgusting, man. It is absolutely
no,
disgusting.
but we feel good about ourselves because we give them standing ovations in the airports and we give them a free meal every Veterans Day at Applebee's. So it's all good. It's all good.
It's not all good, man. It's absolutely disgusting how this country treats our veterans and how people use them to freaking virtue signal. It's like this man, like it's ruined so many people's lives and families too. Like that man's family's life. Like, it's just I
Imagine
don't
being
know
a
how.
mom. Imagine being a mom that's had to bury sons basically on a war based on a lie. Kids, 21-year-olds, we as a society, we basically tell college kids at 19, we can't pay you to play for major institutions. God forbid institutions and universities can pay college athletes to play, but we could send you off to a war and get blown up half the shit or come back with PTSD or with injuries.
And this is the reason why there's so much fucking distrust in the media, man. This is what bothers me so damn fucking much.
Well,
because when
it's
Trump
a grift and they're all in it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because when Trump supporters and far right wingers like talk about the media being dishonest, I can't fucking argue with them. Like I can't say you got to. Well, how can I even say that? You know what I mean? They're giving this man a whole rebrand. They promoted the war to begin with, and even though it has been factually found that through the Afghan papers and everything that this war was based on a lie, they don't treat it like it's based on a lie. Because if you treated it like it was based on a lie, you wouldn't even give this man a second of fucking television time. By this man, I mean George Bush. Like,
but it's like Cuomo. It's like the Lincoln Project. It's like anything else, man. This man serves a purpose. It's to highlight what a president looks like and what Donald Trump. It's all done in the service of, this resistance media strategy against Trump, man. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you get in bed with.
I agree with you. I half agree with you because I do agree that's part of the agenda is to kind of make Trump look bad in some sort of way. But even if Hillary Clinton was president, even if Ted Cruz was president, this still would be going on. It wouldn't be made Hillary look bad. It wouldn't be out to make Ted Cruz look bad. It's just this is what the media does with our presidents who have committed war crimes because they all have. All of our presidents. And we have not called out any single one of them. Because like I said, if you call it George Bush, well, now you got to call out Obama. And they're not going to do that.
The fact that we're still allies with Saudi Arabia when they
crazy.
And the ironic part, we quote unquote went to war with Afghanistan because they were harboring terrorists and because they were involved in the plotting of 9/11, and we bombed Iraq and we went to war with Iraq because Saddam Hussein had to have had something to do with that, and he had to been in on it, even though Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden met once and they couldn't stand each other. Yet we don't do anything to Saudi Arabia, who literally funded people within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, funded the terrorist plot to blow up the World Trade Center.
But that's never.
And we're still allies.
Never reported in the media.
We're still allies with Saudi Arabia.
I protested Trump's Muslim ban at LAX. You remember when he just out of nowhere threw a Muslim? Yeah. And you know what's crazy? Like that whole ban did not ban Saudi Arabia, and there was not one fucking person in the mainstream media that was just like, "Hey,
said anything."
They're not banning Saudi Arabia because we're in bed with them, and they're out of
and they fund a lot of the shit that we do.
Yeah, out of all the Arab nations that commit just inhumane acts, Saudi Arabia is up there on the top. But we're not going to talk about it because
why we hate Iran? Here's a secret. You know why we hate Iran? Because there's a secret civil war. It's not a secret, but it's a civil war between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And guess whose side we're on?
Saudi Arabia. So I
wonder why.
Even when they critiqued Trump And when they still critique Trump, it's still coming from a dishonest place. That's what bothers me. Because when the whole Muslim ban was happening, I was up in arms about it. Liberals were up in arms about it, and so was the mainstream media. But the one thing they didn't want to tell you was that Saudi wasn't involved, and the reason why they weren't involved in the Muslim ban. They didn't want to take it that far. That's why I'm pissed off at the media. The media's just it's just disgusting, man. It's
and all the calls about the inhumane treatment of women and children in Afghanistan, and leaving Afghanistan is a disservice to them. We just blew up like women and children with one of our drone strikes,
like the next day. Like the fucking next day, dude.
And that's what gets me. It's like,
right?
again, and I'm trying
and
to,
then we go and dap up Saudi Arabia, who's doing the same shit.
Like, and that's what pisses me off, man. Because again, you use these narratives like, oh, the women and children and the inhumane treatment of women and children, while we're bombing the shit out of them with our drones, our cowardly drones. Like it just bothers me, man. It really bothers me.
It should bother you.
It makes my blood boil because, again, I've seen so many lives that were ruined by this fucking horrible, gross war. Literally, I've seen so many people. My brother, PTSD. He was one of the first to serve in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
PTSD. Friends of mine, good friends of mine, PTSD. Not to mention countless of soldiers that come back with injuries, myself included.
Yeah,
and part of it, you understand that you sign up for it. You sign up for a demanding job. You're going to come back with some quote unquote war wounds, but it sucks, man. It sucks. And literally, and it's one thing if you feel like you did it for some Nobel cause or
which
issue.
Many people thought, because at the time the media was telling that they were, and the president of the United States of America was telling them that they were.
Yeah.
How can you fault someone in 2001 to go to the Middle East and defend their country after the biggest domestic terrorist attack? I can't fault them.
And they use that. They weaponize. And that was that's the grossest thing about it all. They weaponized 9/11 to fund their fucking war on terror. And not just the war on terror, all the other shit that the heightens, the deep state, the surveillance on American citizens, the Patriot Act, all the things that we're still dealing with today.
Right. Fucking Patriot Act, yeah.
It's disgusting, man.
That piece of legislation that liberals were supposed to wipe off.
Right. I'm still waiting for that to happen, by the way.
Me too. 2 Democratic presidents later.
We can not to mention, and also, and I'll end with this. It's broken record, but again, $2 trillion in Afghanistan, another $1 trillion in Iraq, but we can't forgive student debt. We can't give people in the United States that have lost their businesses, lost their livelihoods. We can't give them a fucking stimulus check to save their life. We can't fucking have free healthcare in this country, but we can go fund a war in Afghanistan. We can go fund a war in Iraq. We can go bomb the shit out of another country. We can go start civil wars all over the fucking Middle East, interfere in all the political elections, and cause political strife all over Central America, and then wonder why migrants are coming to our borders.
Right. Well, we're gonna blow up their homes and cause civil
we have our hands dirty in everything involving Haitian politics. Yet we're mad that they're at our fucking borders. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
And the same fucking administration, the same side of the aisle that cries about immigrants in the wall when they show up under our administration, what the fuck do we do? Yeah. It's fucking disgusting.
By the way, Trump's wall is still being built.
Yeah, Trump's wall is still being built. And if this happened under the Trump administration, mainstream media would be fucking hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Even though more deportations happened under Obama than it did under Trump, but we won't bring that up.
It's fucking crazy. I'm so mad.
It's disgusting, man. That's why we don't like talking politics on this show. It does numbers,
bro.
But it just makes me mad. It just puts me in a bad. I just spent an hour talking about the Jets, and this makes me mad.
Well,
and I just had to watch a team lose 26-0.
It makes me mad specifically about the Haitian situation because I voted for this, right? Like, I voted for Biden because in my mind he's better than Trump. At least we're not going to get the same bullshit we get from Trump. But with Trump, if Trump was president right now, it would have been the same exact result. Just
are we though? Can you honestly even say that now at this point? Like, you're still getting a wall. You're still getting.
But that's what I'm saying. That was my point. My point was
you're still getting drone strikes.
Exactly. The only thing we're not getting is the fucking overt racism in the media. That's the only thing we're not getting. It's the same fucking thing, bro. And it's
I would
very
argue.
disappointing because
Yeah, you're not getting the overt racism. You're just getting
Yeah.
hidden racism. You know,
it's still racism.
It's the
It's just not
same.
overt.
It's the same.
It's
Yeah.
it's a little easier for freaking,
It's a little
high
palatable.
class, for these high class liberals in the Upper West Side to tolerate because their
Yeah,
president
you're
is
still
not
getting
speaking.
black people shot in the street. You're still getting mass shootings. You're still getting black people disappearing randomly.
And I understand. Yeah,
You know,
and I
what has
understand that
changed?
yeah, I understand it's hard to deal with that many people showing up at your border. I get that, but if you are someone who is pro-immigration and, hey, let's not build a wall, let's, welcome people with open arms, you find a fucking way to get as many people as you can in. It might take a while, but you're not whipping them with First of all, like, what fucking year are we in right now where people are on horsebacks, like, whipping people at the border? You're not doing that.
Predominantly black people.
Yeah, like, that looks like it was out of a scene from 1860. Like, I don't even think I'm exaggerating when I say that year. Like, what? Like, it to me, it's just so disheartening because you and I have these values. So many progressives have these values, and we get cuckolded into voting for a fucking party that virtue signals. And it's not that, like, they fooled us. I don't think we're fooled, but, like, it's just frustrating to see, like, that there's just no difference except one party's more overt with their racism, and we're just kind of like, yeah, we'll hide it. We'll virtue signal and act like we're gonna help you, but at the end of the day, we're not.
And you know how I feel about it. I think they're both the same. I think they're both cut from the same cloth. They're both full of shit. They don't mean anything. Kids in cages, the outrage, the horror, kids in cages. How dare he? This monster.
Yeah.
It's literally happening under this administration, and none of them. Where's Kamala Harris at? Where's all these senators and congressmen? Where's AOC? Where's everybody else?
Right. And the same thing, like, you can't expect, and there are nuances within differences between the party with infrastructure and healthcare, but you can't expect people, Haitian immigrants or Haitians living in America or Black Americans or people of color, to give a fuck about your nuances when you're not even respecting their humanity. When they see that they're people who look like them showing up at the border, and you're whipping them and you're sending them back to their country. You think they're gonna give a fuck about the difference between, $3.5 trillion on infrastructure as opposed to 2. They don't give a fuck. Like, you're completely showing them that they're not welcome in this country, period. So why does it matter?
Facts. But hey, Biden's so much nicer. He's nicer though, guys. Come on, he's nicer. He doesn't grab women by the pussy. Axe Tara Reid. And he
I hate it, man.
He's nice.
I hate it
He's
here.
safer. I
hate it here.
Man.
I hate it here.
I hate it here, man. Same. Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I would say, you know what? At least I have a good football team to take my mind off of these things. Oh wait, I'm a Jets fan, and you're a Giants fan. So
I'm a Giants fan.
It is what it is. Hey, at least you've seen a Super Bowl in your lifetime.
Yeah. Shout to the Iron Dome, by the way, in Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's not bring up our old friends Israel. Oh God. our longest, deepest ally.
Let's just vote present and pass on this conversation.
I know, right? All right, guys, that is it. We are out of here for tonight. This morning, it's morning time. Some folks on the East Coast. Thank you for staying up with us late. I know these Sunday night games or Sunday night
ranted,
shows
man.
We
ranted.
We did. We wanted to touch on some other topics too. We just wanted to keep it all football. So yeah. Before we go, you want to tell anything to the listeners and the viewers?
Oh yeah, that's right. For the first time, I can announce that I am producing a show for Uninterrupted called Certified Buckets, featuring lethal shooter Ashley Nicole Moss and Christian Winfield. It drops every Wednesday. So if you have, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, subscribe. My job depends on it.
Please subscribe. No, like literally subscribe.
Yeah, please.
Keep Josh employed. Please subscribe.
Also, my podcast, The Dime with Josh Rodriguez. I'm filming a new episode this week, and I will be back for the NBA season. So subscribe.
Filming.
To that as well.
Keyword filming.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely go check that out. Go support all that stuff. You guys know where to find Josh's stuff and what he's about and all that good stuff. Go follow him on Twitter. Obviously, you can see it if you're watching YouTube right now. Josh_Rodriguez_. Yeah. So definitely go check that out. As for me, You guys know where to find me as well, at the Emmanuel Brown, Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you go check out all the stuff that I got going on at mlbbro.com. Dead End Sports, although I haven't been on in a while. I am planning to make my return soon, maybe this week. We'll see what times up. It's just been crazy the last couple weeks. But yeah, I'll be back on there soon. And definitely check out everything we got going on this show, man. I need to do a better stuff of promoting my stuff. So I started a Patreon page for this show.
Oh, that's right.
You know, it is. I listen, folks that check us out. Obviously, you listen to tons of podcasts, so you guys know the importance of supporting creators. So I won't bore you with all the details, but just any little bit helps, man. $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford. Please help us out. Patreon page allows us to deliver this show for you guys every week. Give it the highest quality and standard that we can provide. Plus, we're planning on doing some special things. I have a couple of ideas for the Patreon exclusive stuff, and I think it'll be worth your investment, man. So I really appreciate anybody that can become a patron. Helps me and Josh do a show and do it better. And it's not hyperbole that you guys help us. You guys help the show grow and help the show continue to be what it is and get better. And this mic goes down. Your Patreon donations can help us get a new mic, get a new this and get a new that. Or, hey, we want to grow our reach and we want to develop a website. All your Patreon donations help that. And can't stress that enough. So please, please, please go check us out. It's patreon.com/anygivensunday podcast. And go donate. Like I said, $1, $5, $2, whatever. Even if you can only donate for a month and then have to jump off and jump back, whatever, just help us donate, help us keep doing this show and keep, contribute any little way. And if you can't donate, I understand it. Times are hard out there for everybody. We are in a pandemic, in a recession, whatever. So I get it. I understand. But if you can, please, truly appreciate it if you would donate to our Patreon page. So, as always, you can follow this show on Twitter at AGS Pod and on Instagram, AGS Podcast, Facebook, Any Given Sunday. And you can find us anywhere where you can find podcasts. You guys know the deal. No need to repeat it. Josh, we're going to get up out of here. It's late and we need to go. But thank you as always for listening and checking us out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. I keep forgetting to do that. Subscribe and like on YouTube. It is important, definitely. So thank you for supporting our show. And for Josh Rodriguez, I am Manny Brown. This has been Any Given Sunday, episode 88. We are out of here. Peace.